If it's sunny.
Hello. I think my mic is open. I think. Ah, Clement ist auch online. Okay. Okay, very good. So I put my computer on silent. So.
Hast du auf das angerufen?
Ja, schon etwas gedenkt, sonst hätte ich nochmal shoppen.
Alles klar.
Meine Hose auch. Meine Hose auch.
Okay, is everyone here? I saw more people. I saw Jürgen.
Yeah, Jürgen was down.
I saw
Peter there as well.
Where is everyone?
Yeah, I think the smoke outside.
This is horrible. Most people were.
Feels good though.
Okay, let's get started.
Die ganzen Bohnen, die erklärt, warum es so schmeckt, wie es schmeckt.
Oh ja.
Und dann habe ich uns so die Zapfenfelder durch die Tour laufen sehen.
Haben wir noch durch Kaffeefälle gelaufen?
No, it's okay. I think it's okay.
Let me know if you change your mind. John, I have like two powerful laptops that are being unused at the moment. So. I'm happy at least the webcam is doing some service.
Ja, als Ziel war ich so, ne?
Yeah, I know, it's a really good webcam.
Chair. I was sitting here yesterday on the audience.
Oh no. Yeah, reserved chair is very
Yeah,
good.
orange is the best color.
Thank you, Jürgen, for the support.
Am dritten Tag kam ich und da saß jemand auf dem Platz.
Unmöglich.
Ich habe das gesagt, weil ich habe es gemerkt.
Okay,
Hast du gesehen, dass es was mit mir gemacht hat? Ich habe mich auf die andere Seite gesetzt, aber ich habe gedacht, nur 2 Tage.
okay, Julie, do you have a link for Hangout?
So eine Participants Group.
Wie lange man es noch erkennt, glaube ich, ist noch nicht ganz.
So, welcome back. I see most people made it back from the wine bar, which I think is a success. We have a new person around the table, so we have to rediscuss everything we discussed yesterday.
Nice.
No, new. I attended yesterday in the
Okay.
morning. I'm not new. Hi.
If we go back to yesterday, the ones that have been here yesterday can come tomorrow because it took us a day yesterday.
Excellent. Yeah, so plan for today is first to summarize a little bit the discussion we had yesterday about operations and how we want to do this. I think it would be best if everyone quickly states what they took back from operations, like what we believe as a group that we agreed on, what we believe is still open and that still needs further clarification. And then we will start documenting this a little bit. It doesn't mean it's a final decision, but the idea for the weekend is at the end of the weekend, at least we have a documentation of kind of where in general this everything should go. Uwe, I don't know, do you want to start with what you took away from the operations yesterday?
Yeah, I can, actually.
I just have a question.
Yes.
Schreibst du gleich mit?
Schreib die wichtigsten Sachen gleich mit.
And could we see that afterwards?
Yeah, I will share it. If Julie is sending me a link that's actually working on giving me an error, I could do this.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're in.
I clicked on my message, it's not working.
That's leicht.
If I click on this, it's working better. Okay. There's too many Hangout links.
It should be the same.
Learning for next weekend. When we do this, we should have like one Hangout link.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will start typing
typing
stuff,
and
and then we just go around and see what we took away from operations.
Okay, good. So what I take away is like each person have the management head for a period of time and is responsible for one, let's say, topic or area of business, whatever we want to call it. And also we discussed that there should be a backup for each of these positions. And probably one position should be filled for a period of time. So whatever we say, like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or whatever.
Or a year.
Or a year. The question would be, like, do we need to be here, or do we expect people to be here for a certain amount of time or not? So there is, I see also some challenges there, and I think we need to figure this out neatly.
I think we had some different opinions. Like we didn't know if any task can be distributed the same way. Meaning, some might be like you do it for a year and you can do it basically remotely because it doesn't really affect daily operations. Whereas I think we were not sure if what would be the best way to handle the actual operations on site. And how they are, like how the responsible person would work with that, or how they are, like how long the time frame is for that. Also to make it easy for Svetlina to not be talking to few persons. So I think we didn't really solve that, but had some issues with it. I think especially Ryan was basically saying, don't give this to somebody who doesn't know what he's doing in co-working, basically. I'm not sure if this is necessarily true, but anyways, I think it's probably a topic that needs to be handled differently than, say, operating the website or getting some content marketing done. That would be my addition to what you said.
Yeah, thank you.
My takeaway is that we need kind of teams for the different topics. However they are working, topics I mean marketing, operations, whatever. We need a person in that team that is responsible, not for doing all the things, but yes, for not delivering, I don't know the word, but one responsible person, one kind of contact person. But I remember that that every task should be done
Self-reliant.
Self-organized. We agreed that it should be possible that each of the co-op members should invest in average 2 hours a week. Shouldn't be a problem, which whatever the person is able or has time to do.
I think that's a great point.
We agreed that this responsible position is for a special time, maybe half a year or 1 year. I remember that I brought up we need to talk about how we organize all all the data, which is the platform we want to work together on. Where's all the knowledge? Where are all the deadlines? Where can I see all the tasks? Yeah, that's it.
One thing I'd like to add, I think that I was thinking about yesterday all the time, but didn't really mention, is that yes, we should have some let's say fair and self-organized structure, I think, but also some sort of reporting or accountability, because we're like a diverse group. We might be in different ends of the world, and basically at any time we should be able to like look into an organized data structure and basically see what's going on at the current time. So the person being responsible for topic X, I don't know, like I don't really want to overdo it, and I don't want to put a lot of structure, but there needs to be like some sort of reporting or accounting for what you're doing. So just 5 bullet points this month I did blah 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 blah. That's basically enough. Just
it's not for control, it's for
yeah,
transparency.
I think more for yeah.
More important is like, what are we gonna do in the future? Like next month, I'm planning to do these 5 things.
So I think we talked about having a tool for that, or that's what I remember. Like to keep each other up to date what we're working about, and that we don't do a thing twice or 2 people working on the same thing. So maybe that we can handle that over, like a tool. I remember we said we're gonna have at least 1 or 2 big meetings where all the co-op members meet and talk about what they have done and what they will do. And I don't know if I got it wrong or right. The long-term goal could be that for this daily business to hire a person actually.
Yeah, daily business or the stuff that nobody really wants to do, but it's like a task that's hard to get distributed amongst us.
Yeah.
You mean besides Svetlina?
Yeah. So for long term, that could be a goal. And I think we talked about that nobody has to do something which he or she doesn't want to do, or couldn't do or something like that. There could be new people in the field. When I'm interested in accounting, I could learn and test myself there. But if I'm totally not up to IT because I can't do it and I won't do it and I will not learn it, I don't have to do it.
Definitely.
Okay, a part of what has been said already. Yes, the organization, as we told lastly, not with an objective of control, but an objective of being sure that what has to be done is done, and nothing is done twice or 3 times in parallel. And sharing, of course, the things were done. In this reporting, I would, maybe organize by task in a tool, something like that, where we can clearly see the tasks who are planned and then who are ongoing, and then those who are done. Well, nothing else on the topic of operation. Yeah, the teams trying to have complementary profiles in a team in charge of a topic. And a team can be only the responsible and the backup, maybe. We talked about teams of 2-3 people.
Could also be like a beginner and like a pro
or someone who knows this and someone who has interest in also a collaborative way and a complementary way. It's good sometimes to have a novice point of view.
That's right. I agree.
Well, I remember about talking about the participation, that everybody has to participate in the activities. And if somebody isn't willing or doesn't have time to participate in it, then it shouldn't be involved. So you point out that you don't want to have passive viewers. You want to have active members. But probably somebody just wants to stay aside and just watch or participate in other activities, like not doing anything but in social activities.
And maybe someone just wants to support the idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good idea. I'm not in town and I don't have time to support it with my time, but I like the idea and I would like to give money.
So I think
What
there would be no loss if this person gives the money and doesn't participate. And I don't think any.
Or could we do two different kind of memberships?
Yeah, I think there needs
member active.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to be different. So on the one hand, it's good basically to get somebody else in if he wants to chuck in money, and we have a little bit more equity. But I think like the plan should really be to have like active members that actually do something, that bring things forward. So passive member then, for example, would be without a voting right, for example.
So, I mean, actually, we could use some money. So, right, because we had some ideas to buy the house, maybe extend the house and so on. I don't think this all has to be financed by the co-op members. So it could be that there's some people that say, okay, I'm willing to give a loan to the co-op for a specific project at a preferential rate that is maybe better than a bank rate if you need a loan. And in exchange for this, you become like a friendly associate of the co-op for doing this. And then you don't have to be involved, and you get like, you still get your money back and you get a small return on the money for giving us a loan, and it allows us to finance some projects.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the values I mentioned, I think equality and equity, I think equality and equity, I think the core participants as a cooperative member should equally contribute. If we have non-contributors, I think, like, let's say later on, when there is some payback, for instance, I would find it not equal, if somebody is like a silent member, of the gang. I would like the participants of the co-op to actively participate,
Payback could be different. The payback could be
No,
2%.
not really. I'm a little bit. It's a little bit weird. I think I hear something. You have to participate, and that's an NGO. That's a German Verein. A co-op is I put something in to get something out. It's not NGO. It's not putting more time and more time and more time. Normally, it's I put something in and I get something from my business out. It's not my work to make it bigger, but to be together.
That's not true. A lot of corporations work totally different.
Yeah,
all the members put their work in.
For example,
not every corporation. All the agricultural corporations. Lots of them in Spain.
They get more food back than they put in. You get something in, and you don't have to work. You don't have to put more things in, because you have your first money put in, maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and that's it. And then you are a full member of a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
That's normal for me. That's like
your shareholder
in Germany, and
who should do the work?
You have to pay people for work. I have many. I'm doing lots of stuff with other people, and I say always, you have to pay the people like it's a third person doing it.
I mean,
It's-
maybe
you put
there's a little bit confusion because we had this discussion yesterday. So we are not building a corporation. We are building a co-op, which is a cooperative.
Yeah,
It's very different.
like Genossenschaft.
Genossenschaft.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly,
that's what I
exactly
meant.
like a Genossenschaft. And it's up to us to determine what are the rules of this co-op. Is it you just put money in, or is it you also have to put some work in? And I think it's a good point to see, okay, there's maybe some people that would be willing to put money in, but they don't want to put work in. I think this is what Andrea and Sebastian described as a passive membership, and maybe we should think about this. But if we have only passive members, then either we need to put way more work in, or we are not getting the results. So the payback for the co-op members is mostly the social impact that they can have on this community by being a co-op member. So you have more impact on the policy, you have the ability to steer the co-op in a certain direction, you make sure if you buy an apartment here that the co-working space exists for you in the future in a way that you like it, and it's not going away where Uwe and Matthias turn it into a board gaming club.
And what if, just a thought, following his point of view, what if there are two options? Somebody buying a share and paying for his share, and somebody willing to be part of it and working for the community to buy off his share.
It's really difficult to follow up.
And how do we buy off the share? I mean, it's easy when we say everyone puts 100 hours in. But we have people earning significantly different hourly wages based on their skills. So it would not be attractive for me to work 100 hours to get 1,000 euros in shares.
So I think, like if this is the co-op, right? So if here are the members of the co-op, right? But let's say this is the co-working Bansko, right? So here are the normal members, right? So this could be the normal members. And maybe we can have something in between, like between a member and between a co-op. Because I think, like I'm not quite willing to share the shares with somebody who is not willing to put actively something in. So maybe
we so much office politics this way, right?
Exactly. So maybe
no, like the way you say, if everybody has to work 100 hours, it's going to be like all these tensions and people gossiping about each other. It's very annoying. Like
why do people gossip about each other if they work on a website?
No, but if it's a co-op and everybody's supposed to do an effort, right, beyond just putting in the money,
yeah,
then it's going to be like, yeah, but this guy was done only 20 hours, but this guy says, no, but my actual wage is higher, so my 20 hours is your 100 hours. I mean, can you imagine?
No, but this is why they're saying everyone has to put 100 hours in.
Exactly.
And this is why we need to figure out what do we do with people where the co-op thinks, okay, this is a non-contributing member.
I think like turning them away just because they don't want to work would be a dumb thing to do, right?
Absolutely.
So there must be something in between.
Absolutely.
So, and it must, like the share or the values they get out of it must be less than the active members. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but having something in between.
I'm an example. I would invest without expecting a lot of profit because I like the idea. But I'm not sure if I can invest this year 100 hours. But if I have the decision to be kind of an active or a passive member, I would choose for now maybe the passive one, and that's fine for me. And I wouldn't expect to vote as a passive member. But maybe next year it changes, or maybe it's the other way around. I have time this year to expect these 100 hours or something like this would make the potential members smaller, especially with this kind of members. They are traveling a lot and self-employed.
Can you maybe do like raising the hands of who is leaning towards active and passive at this moment? Because if everybody says the same thing, then why are we discussing the active at all?
It would be interesting to how we define, like, I mean, an active role is pretty obvious, how we define that, how we define a passive role.
I don't like the passive word. Can we use a different word? Maybe like friends of co-working.
Friends of co-working
Friends, yeah.
What I was just thinking, it's also a nice way, because what we haven't discussed, because it's probably part of the bylaws, is like how would an exit work? And with these two levels, I can assume that a lot of people that don't want to be actively, for some personal reasons or whatever, just step back and become a passive supporter, or whatever Matthias prefers for that term.
Passive friend.
Passive friend.
Without
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah. So you're still in, and the corporation still has the money, still has the share. It doesn't have to buy him out. But this is a very good option also to switch if you feel like you cannot do the work or you don't want it.
Okay, and then comes the question: what would be the benefit for the active owners against the
exactly
others?
Yeah.
Cheap capital.
So it comes to my question: can somebody buy off part or all of his capital with work? Let's say I'm an active and I pay 1,000, you are passive and you pay 3,000, for example.
Well, but
Maybe this, it can be discounts on membership, for example.
Or everybody becomes
Only-
passive,
only for the
and
active-
then
only
we
for the active
employ ourselves for the active work.
okay, I mean, the problems that I see is that if, as a co-working space, we would hire people for specific tasks, we pay them way less than anyone around this table here earns per hour. So for us to sell this time means just that it's kind of increasing the cost for the co-working space, because even if somebody works off their time, now let's say we give the website to Sebastian, and for this website work he would normally charge 3,000 euros. But we normally do it in India, but now we have him giving 3,000 euros of shares. Where do the other 2,700 euros come from? They need to come from operations, which is not a smart choice.
I don't want to sound rude to anyone, but if we are having that conversation in Bulgaria and we will be establishing a Bulgarian structure, I think that we have to follow the Bulgarian wages on this.
Yeah, but yeah, we
With
know
all
the
my-
wages here.
We don't have wages. Like, this is basically a thing that we avoid.
And-
It's only
No,
about
no,
dividends, basically.
by wage, I mean that if the average payment per hour for an IT specialist in Bulgaria is, for example, 10 euro, the person that will be doing that will be worth 10 euro an hour.
Yeah, but Sebastian is not
I
working
think-
for 10 euros an hour. That's the difference, right?
It's just an example. I don't even know how much
And
is it.
that's- Yeah, no, but that's why I think I like the idea of just it's just 100 hours, no matter this is your skill, whatever your skill is paid for. Usually we don't care about the actual wage. We just say it's 100 hours.
But the
And-
idea
and
to
this-
say, like, if somebody's really active and we can't pay him or her for her work, so maybe there's a reduced membership, or maybe I pay 1,000 euros and my
It's going to be so
It's
much
gonna be-
politics if you're going to
super
allocate
complicated
hours
to
with
do that.
money. It's going to be so messy.
You don't have to do that. It's just a difference between a friend and an active member.
That's fine. And then I would try to avoid the politics by just being a friend. Yeah, because it's going to be all the issues is going to happen in the active ones for sure.
Yeah.
So for me,
Like it's going to be
I don't
gossip. It's
know,
going to be
but
like
I think
watching
it's-
each other.
I don't know if
Yes.
until now it was super friendly here, I guess. So I think if somebody tell me, okay, be an active member, get your 20 hours or your 100 hours, and therefore you have a reduced membership and the same share, I would think about it. Why not?
Me too.
That's the idea.
I'm
How
saying
much does
here-
100 hours cost in terms of money, in terms of
No.
membership,
Doesn't
in terms
I
of
doesn't agree with that.
Doesn't matter.
I think yesterday the idea was far away from monetizing our time, or even the priority was not to get some money benefit of our investment. We want to be part of the project. So yes, we will have to put time. It's volunteering. It's I think we said that word. So yes, we can make a difference between the members who are just wanting to help with capital because we need capital, and those who want to put capital plus being part of the project. The others maybe will have the right to vote the big decisions also, but nothing else. But the first group, the active group, will be the operating group, the one who will propose actions, who will decide the day-to-day actions, etc. And well, yeah, if we do these two categories, it's sure that we have to put an advantage to the active category, to the passive, but not counting hours, price, things like that. I think it's
Like a
not
general
the idea.
incentive.
Yes, and let's say this thing works. Let's put ourselves in the same room 5 years ahead. We are now discussing a co-working which is worth 50,000 euro. But luckily, in 5 years, we will be sitting around the table and having 250,000 euro co-working worth. What are the people that have invested more in terms of time and effort throughout these 5 years get back from them? Or are we going to still share the same equal amount of?
No, I mean, if you have two different categories of memberships, right? So if you have friends of co-working partners, they could be informed of everything that happens on the co-op level, but they will not vote and they will not receive dividends. So they don't own a part of the co-op. They just provide a loan in exchange for an interest rate, for example, to buy the building.
I think they should get some dividends, but it
But
could
it's
be
a
much
but then
more,
no,
much
but it's an
less.
interest rate.
But
You get an interest rate for
Okay,
loan,
that's fine.
right?
Yes.
We're talking about 50 euro a year or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
While on the co-op level, if we put our effort in, it's an entrepreneurial project, which means
Okay, I got it.
we own part of the co-op and own part of all dividends. And of course, when we are growing, this could grow to a much bigger level. So it's not an interest rate, and maybe initially it's very low, but it could be that, yeah, there's a big turnout at the end. But this is only if we all work together on it. And if you just put money in, then we only get like bank type of returns.
So then the return on the investment, if there is such 50, 500, 5,000, whatever it is in 5 years, should be then shared only among the active owners.
Yes.
The shareholders, actually, in the cooperative.
Actually, there are no active and passive members. There are members of the cooperative
And friends.
and
loan givers. People who give loans.
Financial supporters.
Yeah.
Because in the cooperative, you cannot distinguish between you have more shares than somebody else. In the
That's what I mean.
cooperative, everybody is the
has
same.
equal.
Exactly.
So everybody has to give equal.
Yeah.
So if you have passive members or whatever, then they cannot be part of the co-op kind of thing because it would not be equal.
So then the thing is, if you want to be part of this, you have to be active. You
Yes.
can't be a passive co-op. That's the answer for me.
I think yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that.
And then comes 50, 60, 100, 200 hours, whatever. If it is a work, it has to be done. And all the co-op
It's based on
members are committed to do the work.
trust.
And if they can't, they have to pay an external person to do it.
And actually, I like the idea on just putting it. It's probably the hippie part of the idea, or the hippie part of me. But you know, just putting it on hours, because that makes us all equal, from wherever background we come from wherever financial background we come from.
I mean, on the other hand, I think, it's very difficult to say, like, Sebastian, have you worked 100 hours? This is very difficult to say, but probably
But then you
in
follow
one
the
year,
results.
maybe you contribute a little bit less, but maybe in the other year, you contribute a little bit more. And I think, like, it should not be that somebody hangs around and does nothing for the entire time. I think, therefore, I also said, the hard question yesterday, how do we get rid of such people who are only, like, passively? Whereas others are maybe very active and stuff, so.
Yeah, because I mean, inevitably you will have members that are more active, and you will have members that are more passive. You will
That might
have
be
members
okay,
that play like a role that's like very obvious that they're doing something, while others might put in the same hours, but in the background, which is just not as obvious for everybody to see. So this is just stuff that will happen, and we all need to be aware of that. And this is hard to judge. And I think nobody of us wants to go back to school and wants to be accounted for or clock their time.
Exactly.
Like this is just
Exactly.
we're all like that, I guess. So yeah, there needs to be a certain amount of trust, and then it's 100 hours a year. This is something that like seems to be legit for everybody. It's something we can all agree on, apparently. I think this is within possibility of trust and within possibility of
Exactly.
putting the amount of time in for everybody.
Yeah, I think we have an agreement here.
Okay, and
Then
whenever someone just wants to give money, it's kind of a loan.
Stop. You said we have an agreement here. If we have here something like an agreement, please make a vote. Not saying we have an agreement, or was it only you?
It's only tomorrow, those things, I think.
No, so I mean, we're not. I'm putting down the notes from now. I don't think we're really at a voting stage now. I mean, yes, we can vote. Okay, it's 100 hours, but I don't think this is the final group of the co-op shareholders around the table. Nor do I think we have really thought this through. So I think the process is first we take all the notes. If there's a different opinion, we can also put this in the notes. But then there needs to be like a separate thing to get all the notes into something that's then more like a bylaw, and we can probably even try like the tools that we talked about, like liquid feedback, to actually get votes about important things.
I think for now it's like it's a wrap up from yesterday, right? So and I think like it's, of course there is some discussion back and forth, but let's have these notes by the end, and then we in the afternoon everything comes and we will discuss more the law perspective, and then we will see from our ideas what is possible to transfer into bylaws.
It was only for me. It sounds like well, we have one agreement from your point of view. I said no, not really. You said you cannot put your 100 hours in.
No, I didn't say that. I said I don't know it yet. It might be. I don't know it yet. I was just asking for the option.
What I'm picking up to now is that we are leaning to establishing a legal company with shareholders, and each shareholder giving enough from his time for the company to grow. Whoever wants to be a shareholder must pay off his share and work for his place within the company. Whatever we cannot do in between us, we will pay to somebody to do it. Who doesn't want or who doesn't have the time to work for the company cannot be part of it, even if he wants to buy a share. That's what I'm summarizing so far.
I would agree.
I would agree also.
Yeah, plus we notice that some people might want to contribute financially, but not their time. So we need to find some solution to get them into our circle as well.
And to get them in and out. What is in the 1 year, not 100 hours, and then I will make it next year. Can I push them out of the cooperative?
I think we should have some rules to sanction this. I mean, I don't want to track how many hours somebody works in the co-op. I think this has to be built on trust. And at the beginning of the year, when somebody takes ahead, then they make a commitment to the co-op to do something that's around this time frame, right? If it's like 90 hours or 110 hours, it's like,
what is the number of co-op members we expect in the beginning? What is the number of co-op members we expect in the beginning?
Let me finish the sentence first, and I'll answer this. So if we find out that somebody falls really short of their commitment, like let's say they don't do anything, or they rarely show up, and we see that the commitment that they took on at the beginning of the year, nothing is happening, then I think the co-op should have a way to sanction. I mean, first, of course, there should be like a personal discussion, like, oh, what happened this year? And, oh, I had 5 babies, and now it's like, oh, so much things going on. And there should be a room for this, right? But if it's like, okay, so actually, I don't really want to do this anymore, and, then there should be a way that the co-op can actually get people out of the co-op. So people should have the possibility to go out of the co-op, but as a group, we should also have a voting mechanism that if we really think with like maybe a 2/3 majority or whatever, that some people no longer really deliver and work against the values of the co-op, then there should be a way to also get them out. And obviously, this is like the final decision. I think there's many smaller things that happen before we kick people out, because first of all, we need to get people in. So,
yeah, but also if there's a good way to get out again, it's also good, like easier for people to get in to the commitment. And just what I really like was, I have thought about this before, is basically having the option to basically step back into the financial loaner role if your life changes and you don't feel able to do that anymore, and you just instead of just going out completely, you still like the idea, and you just step back into this friends of Bansko role. So basically you keep your money in that you paid like 3 years ago or something, but you step back into a loner role.
And then get active.
So again, what is the number of people?
So now for the number of people, so we need about 50,000 euros to get the shares from Matthias.
So 25 then.
I personally think the barrier should be really low, so that money is not an objection for people to join.
Okay.
Which means the initial idea would be between 25 and 50 people.
Okay.
That are part of the co-op.
So, but then you have to, I mean, if you look at organizations with this level of people, like things break down at some level. I don't know if you know about Dunbar's number. Have you heard about this concept?
Yeah, so 50 is a good number.
For a company, the max for a company with teams.
No, it's 150.
No, that's what you can handle as a human. If you only want to work, you can handle 150 people in your company, but not if you want to have a life as well.
I mean, I have worked in companies with 5,000 people, so there's big organizations.
Is it all based on trust in those companies? That's my point, right? Like if you talk about we're going to all work based on trust, there is no need to have any process.
No, I mean,
I'm saying with 25
process.
people, like if you start with 7, you can do this. But if you start with 25, I mean, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, there's a valid point to this. At least
cynical,
being, is there a cap? Should there be a cap on the amount of people, on the amount of seats we basically offer? How much do we really think we can handle? I would also very much doubt 50 people. 25 is already a strong thing, I guess.
Yeah, which 25? I mean,
my initial guess would be that legally it's a company. Legally it has a control board. Legally it has.
It's not a company, so we need to stop using the word company and corporation.
But you will see what Timo was saying in the afternoon. The legal part of it.
It's not a company.
The paper on which everybody involved will put his signature. Legally, we have to have some kind of rules that we'll eventually make for the structure itself. But on the top of it, on look at the bad scenario where somebody is pissed off, or we are pissed off from somebody, and we have to kick him off. The only way you can do that is by having an annual meeting of the shareholders, voting with 50% or with 75%, depending on what rules we decide to have, and buy him off. I'm with him on saying that anything above 20 is too much, and we won't be able to control, and it will be big fights in between. Maybe anywhere between like 11, 13, 15, 17, 19 can work.
Now you're going to have 2 camps anyway, but that's fine.
Philip.
Question, these 25 to
50
people, like these active co-op people, or also like the friends, the financial contributor?
I don't know. I think first we should have a co-op group. So honestly, if we have a group of 10 people, I think we will be less effective than if just Uwe and I continue doing it. So I think we need to have a certain size for this co-op to make sense. For the friends, I really think that there will be future investments, and some of them might come very quickly. I mean, we want to buy the house, which, if we are right, should be about 25,000 euros. There will be costs for the land that we don't know yet, but probably another 10,000. If we want to build, so it might be another 25,000. So it's like 50, 60,000 euros right there next year that we would need to raise. And I think this would be great for the friends, because it also makes sense for people to say, okay, yeah, we want to grow Working Barns Good to Grow, and we know this is a loan and this is into real estate, and we have something tangible. For the co-op shares, if we finance this takeover from Matthias and Uwe with a loan and then pay interest on it, I don't know if that's a good idea.
I mean, I think, I thought about it yesterday. How does this work when we have like 12 people, or, rather than the intention, the initially 25 people than we thought. So I thought, if we have 10 people buying in now for the co-op, then it's 10 people. But I also think, and I'm convinced, that more people will follow, once we have the 10 people who are in on the board, I think, this draws also more people in, because they will see, hey, this works out, and it's probably also fun, to be part of it. But when 10 people pay, let's say, 2,000 euros, then we are not getting to raise 55K or whatever we need to buy the shares from the two of us. And then I thought, you know, like, okay, how can we handle this? Where does the rest come from, you know? And I think I would be willing to say, maybe I don't get the full amount yet, but in the course of onboarding even more co-op members is a thing, or you know, like that we get paid off by the co-op in other ways. So I'm willing to do this on a far lower scale. And also, I think, you know, when we start out with 10, we will see how this develops over time. And I think, you know, when we grow to 15 or 20 people, then we will see, okay, it's more difficult to handle, and we need to cap this rather sooner than later. So I think there is, like in the natural growth, we will see how this develops over time.
What if the two of you become friends of Co-working Bansko with your 25K of shares? And then basically we have a share is 1,000, and then, you know, we basically buy it off you. And as long as you're still friends with that amount of money, then the shares will still come from that account, basically.
I mean, I would rather, I mean, I'm also willing to do stuff like this, but I would rather sell my shares and then take the money, become friends of Co-working Bansko to buy the house with that money. But I think we need to raise the initial money. I don't think it's good to do the initial thing with a loan. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a loan, it's just...
No, it is a loan then. We said friends of Bansko is
Yeah,
a loan.
if this
So
is
you
friends,
have to
it
start
becomes a loan or
paying
interest.
and I think this is better because if we buy the house, we currently have rent expenses, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't add more cost to the operation of the co-working space if we buy the house and then build it out and pay some interest on the loan, because you would have to pay rent anyways. But if now the co-op buys basically like a management buyout, a leverage management buyout, then you have to take this from any generated profits. And I don't think this way we can do this. It just doesn't make sense.
If you would buy your shares now with the initial capital, the only way to add up value would be these 100 hours from each of us. If we would do it in another way, we could use already the initial capital to buy a house, to rent something, to grow it slowly.
Yeah,
beside these hours.
This is what I'm saying. So we would, I mean, I would put whatever I get as a friend, but to buy the house, not to buy my own shares.
I think there are ways to get cheap capital in Bansko, especially because people want to move here, they want to prove that they live here. That can be a service that you can get in if you give a loan to a co-working place. Because there's many people that spend a few $1,000s just to get it set up here, and if we would make that a service, and then Bansko gets like a loan, co-working Bansko gets a loan of a few €1,000 for that service, that would work. If Eftim finds a way to somehow prove that you're part of this company and live locally because you're a friend of co-working Bansko.
Yeah, but this is a new business model,
This is totally different, and friends of co-working Bansko would not be part of this business. That's the whole point. You would not be this financial contribution.
We're talking about growing easily, right? So if you find a way of cheap capital, you have everything you want, and you can buy you out, and we still have all the money we need.
But then you can do another business. Then you can say, I make a relocation company or something else, and not a co-working space. And for me, it's.
I can just say from observing my own incentives, another friend who is coming in December, like we do want to potentially set up a company just to prove that we live locally, and that's just a hassle. And so there is a tension there is a service that you can potentially create.
Yes.
And yeah, you can do it privately, but I have no interest in doing it privately. But it can be something that, if you want to convince a lot of people to give €2,000 at like almost no interest rate as a friend of co-working Bansko, that can be one of the values they get.
Mm-hmm. This brings me to another question. All these services you mentioned that might be like kind of relocation or whatever, or bookkeeping or whatever. What is the idea? Are these under the roof of the co-op, or are these separate companies? And what will that?
I think the co-op would have to decide on a case-by-case basis. Obviously, there's like a lot of business ideas, right? But we don't have the capacity to follow up on all these business ideas because this requires like marketing and operations, similar for the co-working space. Doing a relocation service or an apartment rental service, that's a separate business. I think there can be some ways where we partner with these type of services and say, okay, we promote this service exclusively maybe, and the co-op gets like a revenue share or some commissions or whatever. Or it could be something where we say, as a co-op, okay, we want to build a relocation Bansko OOD, and the co-op starts this other business and finances it and does things. Or it could be that some members of the co-op go together and say, okay, like you four create this relocation business together and work some way out how does the co-op benefit from this if this is a partnership. So I think there's different models, but these are separate business ventures. So what we discuss now is just turning the co-working space business into a co-op. And as a next step, there could be other things. I think once the co-working space is a co-op, it opens up new possibilities that are currently don't exist. But these are separate.
I need to have kind of a vision. It's just, if it is just about to recreate the co-working into a co-op, that's not enough for me. I have to have something bigger.
Yes, I agree. This is actually the next session, or maybe we finish the table with operations, because the next session is what are the goals of the co-op? Like what do we want to do as co-op really? So I don't know, Judith, did we already arrive at you or skip you? Or
Yes, you did it as well.
Yeah,
I interrupted you, sorry so much.
So yeah, it was your turn. You were speaking.
You started all of this.
You started all of this.
Because I'm not a digital type, I do translations and I don't know the design, the pages. I don't like surfing. I just use because I use the computer for translating. Afterwards, after I finish the job, I want to move the computer away from me. These people, they are more younger than me, and they're digital types. They use this frequently, and that's why I found myself that I would be more than passive member, not an active role player.
I think, like translation service, for instance, is something probably we need, It's probably something. So I think you can be valuable in very different ways, So it's not only that you need to support our website, and be a troubleshooter or something like that. It's not like this. So you can contribute in many different ways. Sometimes maybe we need to put something somewhere or need somebody here to open the door or whatever, it's so manifold, what things actually need to be done, and even, I don't know, but there's ways of contributing other than being only digital stuff.
Actually, I was thinking about this. Sorry, I'm interrupting again, but I was thinking about this last night. That the people that actually sat on the table are quite diverse, which is probably something I didn't expect, because in the digital nomad world, it's actually pretty narrow. You have probably tech guys and marketing guys, and this is way more diverse than the average digital nomad scene, I think.
I don't think that it's all the same. A friend of mine is writing her dissertation about digital nomads, and it differs so much.
Okay,
it's everything. It's
anyways, it doesn't matter.
company.
It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong about the digital nomad thing. It's about who's sitting on this table, and this is quite diverse because it could have been like 80% tech guys, for example.
Absolutely.
And this is not happening, and this is a very good thing.
Yes, definitely.
And to be honest, I could imagine during that time while I'm staying here to really do some work with my hands, even if I have other competencies. But it's a great chance to do some other things.
Definitely.
We have a work in the garden, create a kitchen, or whatever.
We won an award for the most beautiful office garden, but I don't think we will win it again next year if we have 43 planters. So we need to upgrade our garden.
And it brings me to other question that we didn't talk about, maybe a bit yesterday. I'm not sure I would answer yes to that question, but do we require a specific amount of time on site for the members of the Coop? Because for what makes me think it's because you said contribute with your hand, like opening the door or these kind of things. I'm not sure we have to.
Well, I think that that's not an issue because there is a lady upstairs working on salary that is here every 5 days, 6 days out of the week. If these things happen, as of now, we have at least 3 people constantly living in Bansko and another 3 people spending at least half of the year in Bansko. So in between these 6, they can handle the year and helping the lady upstairs.
I mean, I think there's also another aspect to this. Obviously, you will not volunteer for an on-site task for
If
your
you-
head
if
if you're not here.
If you're not here.
But the other thing is like, if you're not here for a long time, let's say you're only here in Bansko for 1 week, can you really be a steward of this community if you're not part of this community?
Yeah, that's
Why not?
why.
It's the year 2018.
Yes.
Digital nomads everywhere, communities are everywhere.
Yes, but I mean, Michael, you haven't been here before, so you
Yeah.
don't know anything about our community, which makes it difficult for you to take decisions. Because you just don't experience it. It's not the same if you see what we post on the website and in a group. It's actually, you need to be part of this community to understand what's going on in the community. And I don't think it should be, okay, you need to be here like 12 months a year. Obviously, that's not going to work.
At least 3 months per
Even
year.
6 months is a lot. But if you have people in the co-ops that are here not even 3 months a year, then maybe they're not good leaders for this community. And then maybe we have people that are not here at all. Like, how can you lead a community if you're not here?
And so if you expect 100 hours in the 3 months or?
No, per year. And this can also be like a project, right? So, I mean, let's not get stuck on this 100 hours. So just put it out
No,
like.
I guess you have to have something you get stuck on. Otherwise, I really think it's going to be so much.
No, but it could be that for some people, like Miroslav, he could just help us with accounting. Once a month, he's reviewing our accounting and giving a report to the members. Somebody else.
Or spending 1 day upstairs in the office.
Yeah.
Per week or per
whatever.
month, whatever it is.
Like Philip could organize a 5,000 digital nomad citizen circle festival every August, where he spent basically all his time in July and August to organize this festival. And apart from this,
has nothing to do.
Not doing anything else.
10 months.
So I think it really depends on what people sign up for, and then this determines how this work is distributed and done.
Also, like technically, I'm with you, but I think this is like something that basically should be natural. That obviously it makes sense that you also have a stake in Bansko. Like you're on flat, you're here for a certain amount of time, but technically you could be very active without being here. So if your job is taking care of servers and tech, then you can do this from everywhere in the world, and you can put your 100 hours in easily. So I don't really see a downside to that if you then stick to that role.
Okay, so but then the question is, what is the onboarding necessity you have to bring with you in order that you be part or be able to take part in the call? I think that's the question in the room, right?
And don't you also have to know the other co-op members? For example, now we have like co-living Bansko run by Ricardo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I still know him from last year, but does everybody know who's Ricardo here?
But he's also down.
So he could, in this setup, be like a co-op member then, because he's co-living from Burgas. Well, I think it's going to be very weird.
He's not doing it. He gave
it's just an example, right? If you give an example of I can run the website from the other side of the world, like if you're way too long, it's going to be like, this guy is doing something that I have no idea who is.
I think the problem also is that if we have to do a decision or something which impacts all of us, also the people who are really living here and really staying here, if somebody isn't here for 2 years and give their choice and their voice to the decision,
mm-hmm.
It's so different. Like the basis the decision is made on is totally different when I'm living here and it's my home and. So I would choose totally different than from a perspective far away.
I would do all the votes physically here, so that only people who are here at that moment can vote.
No, this will not work.
So even so, I could come once a year to vote. That Okay.
No, but it's gonna be
just
every
in
month.
the second
That
place
won't work,
somewhere.
guys. I'm organizing AGM general meetings on buildings every year, and people, owners of flats are spread around the world now. Physically being here for a general meeting or voting, same thing, doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, we have a round like this, and then we add like the ones that are somewhere else in the world with a laptop sitting at their place, basically.
Yeah.
You know, this. I mean, we should be like in one meeting together, absolutely, but we can be somewhere else because we are somewhere else at some point, and it's just a hassle to get, especially 25 or even more people in the same room.
That self-identifies digital nomads.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, this is.
Imagine you're in America and we say in a week we are meeting.
Yeah.
Only flying to here will cost you.
We have a very big decision we need to take right now on the building. We need every, this just is not going to
That's
work.
true, but the question was, as
Yes.
I got it, was do
Yes.
we need to have any restriction how much time do people spend here to be able to distribute and voting or something that
So this is basically the face test for being a member, right?
more or
Kind
less.
of, like whatever you.
But I think, like, we put now so much thought and energy into this. I mean, we discussed already active or inactive. And I think, like, if you want to be a friend, I think, in generally, we should onboard people, like, okay, maybe there is some people, they are not so familiar with our community and with our habits and with Bansko and stuff like this. But should this be a hindrance for them to participate?
And I mean, it's similar to the co-working space, right? So there's some co-working spaces where you have to apply for membership, and then you have some screening questions, and then somebody decides, okay, you're a good fit for the community. I don't believe in this. I think people should self-select.
Exactly.
And if somebody who is not here, if Michael wants to join the co-op, I don't think there should be a barrier that prevents him to join the co-op because he has not been a member and didn't go to the Oxbridge with us already a few times. However, if we have a way that we can remove people from the co-op, we can see, okay, some of these members, maybe because they are not here, don't really get what we do and are more of a distraction. And then maybe once a year we say, okay, Michael, how about moving to Bansko or downgrading to a friend, or maybe we just give you your share money back.
But also I think like if there must be some with this. What I understand is like basically everybody can participate and basically like we 6 months later I'm in a corporation with 10 people that I've never seen, but that I don't know about, and this cannot be right.
Can I add something from that? Can I add something from that? To start with, my personal opinion is that if this happens, I would like to enter this formation with equal rights with everyone else.
Absolutely.
Equal share and equal rights. I wouldn't be happy if we have, for example, now 10 people willing to buy off 1,000 euro each and keep another 40,000 shares for Uwe and Matthias. On a secondary step, if we make this happen now with, for example, 10 people, we have to decide what would be, let's say, the limit for growing on an annual basis. For example, are we going to accept another up to 5 or another up to 10 people the next year? And whoever enters in by buying shares should tick the boxes.
We can have a process of new entrants.
Something like that.
Exactly.
But definitely, I wouldn't be satisfied paying 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever the euro is to get into this and have more or less heaviness on the decision-making process.
No, I think we all agree on that. That it's even stakes for everybody.
So I think Sebastian is like, I sense a little bit of fear. And in my experience, this fear is not justified because
actually, it's not a fear. I'm just, it's not willing to do that. Basically,
but it's
I
a little
want
bit
to know whom I'm in a corporation with, and I want to know who that is before he enters the corporation.
Yes, but now the fear is that a lot of the wrong people will enter, and I think just by stating, okay, you have to put money in, you have to put work in. Maybe it would be great if you have been in Bansko 3 months per year on average or so. You already set a framework, and this will attract certain people. I think in the future, maybe we should invite people to join and then vote if we wanted these people to join. But initially, if the vote is on me and Uwe, I think we will let everyone in who says, yes, these are the values that we subscribe to and we want to be part of it. And I don't think that in this first round of people, we will get a lot of people that have not been part of the co-working Bansko community. Because it's not like people running around and want to be part of it that they have no experience of.
I mean, we can also define our ideal co-op member, right? We can have ideals. So,
so I'm like, how should I put this? I don't like having like a strict application and being like the super exclusive club. Same time, I think what you were basically saying, or if you think of fucking, Rotary Alliance, you basically, you kind of try to attract people on a personal level, like one member tries to attract somebody else and tries to pull him into the circle, if you would like to call it that way, which is kind of a reference, which makes it easier to keep the level.
I mean, what they do is normally you have to have 2 or 3 people that you know, and they will recommend you to the club, and then the club is voting the simple majority if they accept a member. And I think something similar is also great here. So of course, whoever wants to join the co-op should know somebody else from the co-op who can tell us, okay, I vouch for this person, I think this would be a good fit for our community.
There has to be something with basic rules as well. Like you have to be, I don't know, some kind of rules.
So to avoid that maybe 10 foreign or like 25 foreign people come, nobody knows about them, they get their shares and they won't know to everything we want. So
yeah, but what is the point of this?
I think like a very simple process, like, an introduction makes sense to me. An introduction, I think, is very good, and then a simple vote. I think this is very easy and to do. And
there has to be a limit. He's right that at a certain point there will be too much people.
But we will see when this comes out. We will see when we are close to that. I guess this is a natural thing. I guess.
Yeah, and I think 50 is a high target to get in the next few years. I think.
Yeah, but you have to do that if you want to make €1,000. You have to make it 50.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people living here.
And there's another question: if somebody joins in 2 years and the co-op has grown, is it more than €1,000 then, or is it stay €1,000?
Usually in the co-op, it's always the same.
And what is the valuation? Oh, so it stays the same.
It stays the same, but what we can adjust, if we see, and we talked about this yesterday a little bit, that we have like a sign-up fee. And the sign-up fee could be adjusted. If you join later, then we say, okay, now the co-op is actually so much more worse, so the sign-up fee is higher. And this would also be great because the sign-up fee is a way for the co-op company to make money. I mean, we will talk with FDM about this later, but because of the VAT registration and all these things, I think we will still have multiple co-working Bansko companies like now. And the co-op will own these companies and get distribution of shares into the co-op, but it would be great if the co-op itself also has revenues, even if it's just to pay for accounting and FDM.
I mean, the question is whether we have a non-profit co-op or we have a profit co-op. I think this is also something I want FDM to clarify what probably makes more sense to us.
But we need to have a for-profit co-op, otherwise we can never distribute any dividends.
Absolutely.
But why does it matter, the dividends?
Because everybody wants for the place to go up.
But still we could
and get back dividends.
But there's other ways to get money out than dividends. There's other ways to get money out than dividends.
But not from a non-profit.
Bullshit, right?
Yes, it is.
You can pay people from a non-profit. Yeah, but this is not
You
working.
just have a dinner in a non-profit and spend money that way, right?
I think the dividend is not the purpose.
Exactly.
If the company grows a lot, your share will grow, and so if you want to take the money benefits of it, you retire, and your share is not 2,000 but 3 or 4. But the dividend, it would be maybe €20 a year, €100.
No. I mean, it's even now. It's different. So, I mean, I think overnight we will take all our money and put it in the second location now. But I think currently the yield is about 5 to 6%, and I think the yield in the future will definitely be about 10%, even if we reinvest. So it's not a massive startup type of return, but it's a normal good.
But the irony of being, if you have a co-op where you want to make a dividend, the more you make dividends, the more expensive it has to become for the next person to join, So the more you're like limiting yourself of doing the social impact that you want. Right? I mean, otherwise, if the next person joins for also €1,000 with a very low entry fee, we're basically giving this person more money.
No.
Like economically speaking, right?
But we just said that we have a sign-up fee that will be determined.
I know, but I mean, if you increase the value per shareholder or per co-op member, then this sign-up fee has to go up. So you make it more limiting to join in the future, which is fine if you want to be like a partnership, like a law firm type of thing, but you actually want to have as many people as you want. You want to grow Bansko, so there's an irony there. There's a conflict. So you have to decide what you want to do. Like I'm fine with either.
Like you said, is it going to be a business or is it going to be a non-profit?
Exactly.
Like you said.
I mean, of course, it would also be possible to say, okay, instead of doing a co-op, we just do the Co-working Bansko Foundation, where we ask people for straight donations and run this as a non-profit. But I'm not sure if this is the right structure and if this attracts people.
Or if you're a co-op, you just spend all the money in growth, so that's...
Yeah, but even if we spend it on growth, so like now, if you buy the building, of course, the value of the co-op goes up the longer we operate.
But the co-op would rent the building, right? They wouldn't buy it.
That's the question. I mean, like whether the building is privately owned or not. So, and that's also the question whether the co-op is like is liquid enough, to buy the building or not, or willing to buy the building or not. You know what I mean?
But
so there's different options.
Is it the goal to have the building?
So, okay, I mean, we are already in the next session, so maybe one of the goals is actually to buy real estate, because what I have seen in the co-working industry, the real estate, basically co-working is a real estate type of business. So you need to rent facilities, you increase the value of those facilities, and I think for us long-term, it would be much better to own the real estate. It limits a little bit our flexibility to go to other locations, right? So once we own this building, we're probably not moving to another location quickly. But if we assume that we will grow, then we need more buildings anyways. And this is also where the value comes from. So once the co-working space actually owns buildings, and of course, first we need to pay them off, but then we are no longer paying rent, which increases dividend yield. And I think real estate is one of the reasons why Uwe and I said, okay, maybe we should ask other people to also invest into this business, that we actually have the resources to buy the buildings that we use.
But you can separate the building purchase with a long-term contract to the co-op, right? It's not like you have to own it with all the 20 people in the co-op.
Absolutely.
So you can do it today. Like I would be willing to consider investing in a building.
Yeah, but I don't want this. I don't want that you take the return of our rents. We don't want to pay rent. I don't want, otherwise I could just buy them.
So you want the Friends of Coop in Bansko to give you interest-free loan, or what is the return then?
A lower loan than we would get from a bank, because people believe, okay, the co-working space should grow, but ultimately the return.
Okay, so a loan at, let's say 2%, and then
why 10 minutes ago you answered to a question of him that you would prefer to take your money out and buy the house.
No,
I
said I would take the money and provide it as a friend of co-working Bansko at this reduced loan rate. But the co-op would buy the building, so they would get the loan from me.
From you,
I would get an interest that's lower than a normal bank interest,
and
like anyone else.
What is the kind of interest you're thinking about?
3%.
Yeah, I have no idea. Let's say 3%.
3% is
it's like 1.9% in Belgium for a mortgage.
3%
But
is
it's
the
not
current.
here 1.9%.
We're talking about below inflation levels then, right?
3% is the current bank mortgage level in Bulgaria.
Okay, 3%.
So the co-op could then check, okay, what do we get from the bank? Do we have people that provide a better loan to us that we can leverage, right? But the idea is that the co-op would own these buildings, because otherwise we would just give basically the profits that we make. I mean, now we are paying the profits as rent.
And then we come into his foot saying that Coop will increase the value, which would mean that next year, if we accept more members, they will have to pay higher entry fee.
Yeah, but also because there's more value in the co-op, right? So we are growing.
Of course, because you have people giving you cheap loans. Yeah, that's highly valuable.
Yeah.
How would like if we would need to buy out a member in 3 years, 5 years time, so his share increased by €2,000. He's now on €3,000. So we buy him out on €3,000.
No, the share doesn't increase in the co-op. The share is €1,000.
Exactly.
We set it to €1,000. You get €1,000 back. You're losing your
It's going to
sign-up
be
fees.
so tough, because you're going to have, if you were ever to sell it or something, it would be worth maybe 6,000. Then you can kick out somebody for thousands according to the rules. Like
but as a member, you can sell your share at a higher price. But if you wanted to redeem it at the co-op,
we can do our own secondary market for the share of the co-op.
Of course.
You take 10 shares.
No,
But
that's
I
not-
can
that's
buy a
not
second
possible.
share then. Or?
No, you
No,
can't
that's
buy
not
a
possible.
second
Or
share.
I can sell to any
But you
person I
can sell
want.
it to anyone else if you find somebody else who buys it for a higher
That's
price.
a-
Don't you
I
have
think that's
like the
very
legal
weird to
issue that you could set up multiple companies that buy into it?
No,
Like,
it's
I would
limited to
assume-
one person.
No, but I would assume that any co-op has some limits on which person you can sell to, right?
Yes,
That you have
our
to be-
limit
you
is
have to
only
approve
one.
the sale.
Our limit is a natural person can only own one share. There's no
I
company
know,
members.
but any member can sell to anybody they want on their own without having the vote by the co-op. I think that's very weird as a co-op to do that.
We have a session.
I mean, we can determine this, but I think this is how it should be. But if you want to sell it back to the co-op, you're not getting the increase in
Oh,
value.
but then, so now you have a situation where your share is worth maybe 6,000 on the market.
Mhm.
You can get kicked out at any moment for 1,000. So you have incentive to quickly sell to not lose the 5,000.
So
You're getting very good incentives
Peter,
here.
I think
No, put it the other way around. The sign-up fee basically needs to cover the difference between the one. Like let's say I have a share of 1,000 euros. In 3 years, it's worth 3,000 euros. So the sign-up fee basically needs to be 2,000
Yeah,
euros.
that's the other
correct?
part of the
No,
discussion.
plus the 100 hours you worked.
No, but I mean,
Don't
he's right
forget
on
that-
that. Like,
don't forget that you
For
have
economic calculation,
But we're
yes.
talking about exit here, not
These
entry.
100 hours are included
they are
in
gone.
this
This is what
2,000
increased
euros.
the value, right?
So if I
It's about
if I
years.
sell my share back to the corporation, I only get 1,000.
It's about
If I sell it
profitability.
to a probable new member, I get 3,000, which is like basically the same price if he would join for
Yeah.
1,000 plus sign-up fee.
Yeah.
So this needs to be the
But you
same
cannot
level.
allow co-op
Yeah.
members to sell on their own. Otherwise, they're all going to flee to get the market value. instead
I
of the
don't
1,000.
I don't think that they will flee. I mean, like
We're
maybe
getting
some
huge
will,
incentives.
maybe some will, but I think like the idea is that we get
Okay, I mean, when would you sell the share? When you believe that next year it's worth less than this year, right? So if you see every year the share is going up 30%.
No, because you're saying that if you have maybe 21 members, right? If 11 people vote you out, you get 1,000 euro back.
But why
But
do
you
they
can
vote
sell
you
to
out?
your brother at
Why
any
do you
moment
think they vote you
for
out, Peter?
5,000.
Why do you think we vote you out?
Because
If
that's the
there
law.
is a conflict that escalates, there's going to be some coffee machine discussion. It's going to be like, honestly, that's how it's going to be. Like the stakes are small, so it's going to be really big politics because everybody. Yeah, I know. Anyway, like I would be very wary of creating a situation where you can lose 5,000 euro economic value at any point in time because 11 people don't like you. That's very dangerous. So I would not allow
Okay,
a
then
co-op
maybe
member to
maybe-
do secondary
okay.
markets.
But
Okay,
isn't it
then maybe the
unrealistic?
vote is different.
Your part with this within this 5,000 euro gross, my individual part is very small. It would be totally unrealistic if the whole co-op members work together to get this higher value. If I invested 1,000 and now I want to have 5,000.
No, but I'm talking about if the value went up, that it's effectively worth 6,000, right? I'm not saying that we put in 6,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that it
Okay.
is going to
Okay.
most fair will be if
But
the value is increased in time by putting our time and
Yeah.
efforts into it. 5 years ahead, if my 1,000 costs 5,000, I can be bought off for 5,000.
But not by the
Maybe for
co-op.
4,000, less the 1,000 entry fee, but not less.
No, but not by the co-op. And the reason why not by the co-op is because then the co-op would have to liquidate assets to make it happen.
But if I
But
can't be
however,
bought, then
there's another way how this can be handled. You can say if we vote a member out, then the member has two choices within the next 12 months to either redeem the shares at the initial contribution to the
or
co-op
sell.
or sell it to a third person.
That's more fair, yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think this
that-
solves the problem.
That would solve the
That
issue.
would solve the problem. Also, there's, I mean, I don't know if that makes sense in that term, but if vesting in some sort could help just to make it more fair for
But
anybody.
wait,
So I think
but
there's
even if you do
vesting
this,
structure.
sorry.
Yeah.
Even if you do this rule, then let's say you kick me out after 2 years because I'm an asshole, right?
Mhm.
And then I know it's worth 5,000 euro.
Mhm.
And then I find a new member who wants to join for 4,000, but then you as a co-op will say why would we want this? Because if we
What?
can
No,
charge
no.
an entry fee,
What? No,
the
it's
co-op gets the money.
but it has nothing to do with us. So if you think your share is worth
No,
5,000,
but if I'm selling it to somebody, this
Yeah.
person becomes a co-op member, right?
yes,
And this same person would have paid an entry fee to the co-op, not me, for joining.
But
So
no, but
if
it's
I
your
sell
value.
my share to the next guy,
yes.
then you lose money, even
No,
though
we don't lose money.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's
economically
your
you
money.
do, because
How?
there's less revenue to the co-op. Because this new member didn't pay you, he paid me.
Yeah, but you sold your thing.
No,
It's not.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, but because again you have this huge incentive where it's 1,000 euro value to the co-op, but it's any market
Oh, you mean
value
we
outside
lose-
of it.
No,
Yeah.
but actually we don't. No, we don't.
I mean, if the value is 5,000 of the share, right?
They lose
They would pay maybe.
a little bit, but if you have the legal protection to sell it to somebody else, I mean, it's
Also,
it's
this
a
is
big
something.
difference.
Also, this
I mean,
is
if, well,
something.
if this is the rule, then this is the rule, right?
I mean, I don't want to
Okay,
extend
I
this
mean,
discussion,
it's gonna
but
be fun observing
the other
the
question
drama.
is, what is, because we said before, that we have a vote, like whether we want to have this person on board or not. So what is if he sells the share to somebody we have had a bad experience with? So if what happens if he? I don't want to extend this, but there is many
so there's
situations.
another way how we could do this. We already said we have limited amount of shares available, right? So not everyone can join. So maybe there's a wait list. And maybe if we expel a member, then the next person on the wait list will actually buy that share for whatever the co-op is charging for. So the member gets their value back with the share, the nominal share value, and the sign-up fee. I mean, I'm 100% sure there's fair ways how we can deal with this specific issue.
I agree.
And I don't think that we will expel a lot of people. I mean, this should not be the focus of our session now, how to expel people the most.
Well, actually, I think this actually has to be the focus. Like, you always discuss how things go wrong when you start a company, not how things go right. It's very easy to say, oh, we're all going to work 100 hours, everything is fine, we can be 50 people. That is useless conversation, honestly. Like, you have to discuss the real tensions potentially that come up. Because if you set up wrong in a co-op, it's very hard to change, right? You're going to be fucked forever.
No, but it's one man, one vote. Like if you
sorry.
say something needs to be changed, like you can bring this up in the co-op, and if you have enough people who second your opinion, then things can be changed.
So you can change bylaws with how much percent votes? I hope more than 51.
Yeah, for
Again.
sure. That this must be a different story, right?
75 or something.
Yeah, or even more.
2/3 or
Yes.
three-quarter.
Rather than anything else, I think so too.
Okay, operations. Jürgen, did you or Philip? Did everyone say everything? Did we go through with operations?
No, we haven't been through. Philip, you haven't said anything. If the word was, yeah.
Has to get started. We just discussed that makes so much sense.
I think we can all agree on that.
We can also discuss all the time about what should we avoid. We can do it, but we can do it also in an ongoing process. So if somebody is willing to contribute and to just be part of the co-op, I think there's so much effort in that we find a way. And I'm really more the positive guy and thinking, okay, we'll find a way and to find a solution for these problems before it's a risk. So, but it's also a good opportunity and possibilities for the future for co-working Bansko and for Bansko in general. So I would be on this part to say, okay, I take the risk and I think we will find a way. If it's going wrong, there will be problems for sure. It will be kind of going if not,
Kannst du mir das Kabel
Will
geben?
be there.
Ich share this.
Maybe put these
Ja, ich muss was schauen.
everybody, I think more like somebody's head of marketing or
Oh, ich meine, du kannst auch das von Patrick
into
sharen. Patrick
projects
hat
in the
das
marketing
gepostet.
area and say, okay, hey, we are in task maybe for the next couple of months, and if you want to take part in this kind of project, and then we also discuss what
in der Gruppe.
everybody's doing, kind of work, contribute.
It's a learning process for all of us.
I think
And
exactly.
We
Exactly.
can't even think of what can all happen now.
Okay, but if you create
So-
the
I
wrong
don't want to
incentives now,
spend-
you know already,
I
right?
don't want to spend before I don't have a vision. If I spend 3 days, what can go wrong? I lose the mood to even start.
You should know
To be
about
honest.
problems, possibilities.
Yeah.
But you can
I'm
also-
not talking about an actual operational problem. I'm talking about the problem of governance that we're going to set up from day one that is just wrong. Then we can think through.
This is the discussion of this.
Sollen wir das einstecken? Magst du das einstecken?
No, sure. I think we should wait a little bit longer for Efton to say what is possible and what is not. But I do agree that we do need to think about some certain worst case scenarios and be prepared for them. But this shouldn't be the only focus, which is the point where I disagree. We should also discuss things going right, not only things going wrong. We should do both.
It was like from a remote member, from Patrick. Patrick actually shared this with us, possibility how we can share tasks and roles, So I think, we have a lot of one possibility to approach the workload question is to look at the task list complied by Matthias. I have thrown these notes into a Google Sheet, and the second shield. So we are now in the task, and the second is roles. So I think, like, we have so many knowledge within this group, that we can solve problems, like, and I think, like, I don't know, this morning it seems that we're discussing the hard problems, which might come up or which might not come up, but I think in general we need to focus on how can we make this happen rather than with what is the worst case. I lose 5,000 euros, if I.
And I would argue the worst case is that we lose Coop and Balsco.
And yeah, well, that's another question. But I think, like yesterday we had the idea that people who join, they want to join and not see the economic benefit of it, but see other benefits, like being here, being part of Bansko, own maybe something here, and like influence, like. What is the best way to predict the future is to create it, and I think what is the reason for you to join? And if the reason for you to join is to earn money, is probably the wrong reason.
But I'm arguing the opposite, right?
Yeah. What is the
I didn't
opposite?
understand.
Like my entire point was that the risk of focusing on dividends and on increasing value, but keeping, like, there is a risk where the market value is different from the buyout value, which creates more politics, which will ruin Coop and Bansko. It is not about making sure everybody makes the 5,000 euro, right? It's making sure that there is, like, even now we have like members leaving because some postal thing arrives and there is a fight over should this one be accepted or not. It's tiny things like this, right? Imagine if you now add 5,000 euro per person to the fuel, like it just.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, especially stuff like the postal thing is, and I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday as a motivation of the co-op, but for me, I really want a bigger group of people that define policies and then also be able to be the judge if conflicts like this come up. And I think it's better if we have a bigger group.
We don't have to go on this example. Peter has a very valuable point, and I think it's something that we definitely need to discuss. I'm actually with you on that. It's just maybe we go like do a vision before we go into the worst case scenarios, but I'm 100% with Peter that we should discuss this. In the more detail we discuss this, the more easy it will be
when it comes up.
When it comes up.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Uwe, like the thing shouldn't be like the monetary value. We don't want to attract people that are only interested in the economics of it. But if we're going to allow anybody in, if we're going to allow like a secondary market, if everybody can just sell it to whoever, then there is like over time it could evolve into. Like, I'm sure the initial people that will join will not do it for the money, but this might evolve over time.
I can tell you one thing, if you create incentives economically, people will act like them. It doesn't matter what they say initially they want, like economic incentives matter.
I mean,
that's all I'm saying.
When things get tough, it will always be about money, even if it's only 1,000 euros.
Yeah,
I think
we coffee machine.
I think but like if somebody wants to escalate in some, like, it doesn't matter if it's 5,000 or 10,000 or 1,000, this is just human behavior. I think we are all aware of that, and we can just hope for the best. But
I mean, what I took down is that we need to have a process to accept members into the co-op. We need to have a process that members can exit the co-op and that members can be forced out of the co-op. And all this should be fair and transparent.
Yep.
And the details we will need to look at. I think it's great to think about some examples. So I think Peter had some great examples, and these help really to clarify what could be future problems in this process. And this is also something that Ian messaged me yesterday, that when she saw that, okay, this is like, you really need to figure out what happens with members that no longer want to be part of it.
The way I see it, we can either fight now or fight when the Coop is ready. Those are two options.
I don't think we have to fight on this. I think we can find a very clear solution for all those situations,
Absolutely.
but we need to discuss it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any need to fight about that.
We've already come up with some of them. I'm sure if you rewatch the recording, you'll see at least a few solutions to a few of the problems, and we can build from there.
Agreed.
But probably there is already a grid, like a certain framework, like a law framework, where FTeam has already prepared, you know, like
Some
we think already on this hard topics, but maybe there is already a solution.
Okay. Jürgen, done with your observations regarding operation? Okay. Michael,
I'm done.
Okay. Miroslav is not here. I think from my side, basically everything was covered that we discussed yesterday. I will share this in the group, and then we need to refine it and distill it. But I think it's a good starting point for operations. Now, the next session that we have is about actually the goals of the co-op. And
should we have a break a little bit?
Yes, let's have a quick break, quick coffee. I don't know if we have smokers here. I hope not.
What time is lunch?
Lunch is at 1:30. However, Uwe and I, we will look at another building today at 1:30, so we'll be a little bit late for lunch.
Okay.
It will be a very long lunch until 3:30, so there's a break in there because FDM asked to have like a few minutes with me and Uwe up front, so that there are no surprises.
So you guys will do building and then after right away?
No, we will do
No lunch for
building,
you.
then we will get lunch. So reserve 2 plates for
Would be
us.
actually good not to have lunch, you know, after the feast yesterday.
Okay, speak only for yourself.
Two lunches for Matthias.
Well, then we have FDM here. Also, I don't know if you saw it, I posted it in the group. So actually, we got a pretty good offer for the other location at Bellevue Residence.
I've seen it.
Which I think we should probably accept.
Is that one
How much is the offer?
the bottom with the big patio?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Bellevue Residence. It's
Do we have a photo of from the outside? It's really beautiful. I think this is one of the best.
Is this the one you're going to look at? Or
No, we're looking at another one that made the appointment before, which is why I didn't cancel it. But I think giving this offer this morning means that we have actually a pretty good offer. Where did I post this?
I didn't go.
Yes, you posted in Coop.
Yeah.
But you put the pictures in the comments. So
This is so bad. Yeah, so this is basically this area.
But this is the wrong view, because we should see it from the outside. The outside is like, so this is really amazing. Like from not only the inside is a nice working area, but the outside is actually it's like it is fun to be there. You know,
It's like more or less halfway to the gondola, right?
No,
it's like 2 minutes to the gondola.
Can you scroll up a little bit?
Yeah. First, let me find it. It's like
Okay,
It's already there.
you already have
also the
that.
one with the swimming pool?
Top right for you now, Matthias.
yeah, it's in the wrong location. Like everything in Bansko, it's not right. Yeah, it's this one.
There's
Oh,
even
wow, yeah,
streets,
that's very
this
close.
whole street's
Okay,
missing on
nice.
Google Maps.
Yeah, let's take it. How much is it?
You can check BG Maps.
How much is it per month, Matthias?
They offered us 660.
Okay.
It's this building here. So here you can see the area we're talking about is where my mouse cursor is. So it has a view to the courtyard, and this is the main street. So there's Hotel Tanne next to it. And if we scroll out, you can
Do we have a street view? Do we have a street view of this?
You can drop the little buddy on the right.
So here we talk about this area, right?
If you go to
And
just
look
Google
at this, you know, like this is a really, I mean, you know, this is what we are talking about, right? This is a really nice area, and also we have the possibilities to rent from inside some apartments, you know. I mean, we are not in charge of it, so the rent needs to be negotiated in a way or so, for the apartments, I mean. But the work area there, I think this is really amazing.
So basically this would be the entrance from the street. So this is the street towards the gondola, right? It's like 3 minutes walk. We can probably put a flag here, and then on the inside you see.
Orange flag, of course.
Of course, orange. There's like a big glass thingy, and this is also what we see on the picture here. So this is the outside to the courtyard. There's a door here right next to it. And what we would do, we would put a glass wall in this front section, or maybe a lot of glass that we still have light. While on this wall here, we would probably do like drywall. So close this off. There's a fireplace in it. It's enough space for like 1, 2, 3 tables and a nice like couch area.
So 16 to 18.
And also what we don't see on this picture, so basically behind on the other side, there's a small bar that we don't rent, and it will be outside our space, but we would put a coffee machine in there. Whatever.
Bellevue?
Yeah. Whatever coffee machine determined.
You know it from the outside. You know it from the outside.
I know it from the outside, from the inside, from the.
And I think it's really nice.
And also because it's in
a
this
nice
lobby
place.
area, it will probably be like a semi-quiet space, so it will not be as quiet as a quiet space, or maybe not as social as a social space, but we don't really have a lot of room for like a Skype room. So people can still go outside, use the lobbies then for calls. Also in the summer, there's a big outside area where we can put a table. And so I think the location is good. It's big enough. And they offered it to us now at 666 left per month.
666.
Yes, I mean, they, of course, I told them we don't have so much money. So basically now they split it. We pay 1,000 left for 4 months and then 500 left for 8 months.
5. No, but in the beginning they want to have 1,000, like for the first 3 months, but then go down to 550 or something, or 500 for the rest of the year.
Because in the gondola area, it's a very seasonal business. So they would probably be able to rent it out in the season for more.
Just the lobby area.
But I don't understand why they actually
It's
want to
lobby.
have this upfront kind of thing. Why
I
should we not
understand why
agree?
you- I understand
Also
why they
because
want
you're
it
going
upfront.
to change the physical environment, right? If you go away and after a couple of months they need to undo all this drywall and glass and stuff you put in.
Yeah,
Isn't that
I
part
think
of it?
it's a fair. I think it's a fair deal. So they want the money upfront, also because they know a lot of business in the gondola area fail.
Guys, can I add something for this location?
Please, yeah.
Because I'm very familiar with the location and
Mhm.
because I have a whole building that I manage and have few places in it just next door,
Mhm.
at Mountain House where the bakery is.
Mhm.
I've been in the Bellevue Hotel because I was tendering to get the management of the place a few years ago before it went bankrupt and everything.
Mhm.
It's a decent place, the thing that you're showing, but considering the seasonal aspect of being up in that part of Bansko, the moment the season is over, this place would 90% most probably close till the rest of the year, and you will have to enter through a.
No, it's not true. The entrance door is here visible. This is where we would enter.
There is a private entrance door or for everybody?
It's for everyone, but we would have a smart lock on it.
Matthias, have a look here. Is that
It's
the
into the
door on the
courtyard.
Lido Street?
No, it's into the
This is
courtyard.
the courtyard.
No, but it's the main road. So there's a
That's
courtyard
the
before.
courtyard. So
Yes.
the main street is up
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and the Lido entrance is from
Yeah,
that
Yes,
side.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
we're not
Mhm.
using the side entrance. We want this entrance.
No, there's actually 2 entrances. There's one in the back
There's
and
one
one
in the
here.
back.
Because you don't want to enter a dark space
Yes.
reception
No,
and
no,
then
no.
go into.
No, no, we want to
You
enter
need
from
direct,
there. Yes.
direct
Absolutely.
access from the street
Absolutely.
or from the yard.
This must be maybe we can.
And I mean, this is also the advantage of this space, right? So they also showed us other areas in the building, but then you have to walk through a dark building and shit. And here you really
That-
just come
that's
in
something
and
that
you
you
see
have to
us.
avoid.
We make everything orange on the glass. We have orange arrows. It's like what we amazing orange.
And
As long
it's,
as it's
and it's very close to the gondola, so nobody else can come in and start.
And I think also, but it's good that you mentioned, like when the ghost town starts, usually in the beginning of spring or so, then it's like 5 to 7 minutes walk to the Pirin Street. So the Pirin Street is also around the corner where Mechanes and whatnot is available, right? Like cafes and stuff.
Street too.
And so I think it's a great opportunity. Okay, let's have 10 minutes for break, right?
So Google says it's like 6 minutes walk to the gondola. It's really full of fish.
I have an apartment just there, so I know exactly what it is, and I've been inside the place.
I mean, they also have.
Okay,
some
we have a
ideas,
quick
so-
selfie.
Yeah.
Can you take a selfie? You have a long arm then.
Should we maybe take it outside? We always have these dark room selfies.
Yes, this is a very good idea.
No, we're sitting right now, and it's
Okay,
probably
okay.
a good idea to
Like,
say.
I don't know, half of the people are already standing.
No, now sit, okay, sit down, everyone in. If you can see
Yeah.
the camera, I can't see you.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go here with the light.
Maybe switch off the beamer.
Okay, very good. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is an amazing selfie.
It's
Okay.
like there is some in this room with the beamer. Projector. Not to be too German about it. Yes. And we're not talking about BMW.
How are you doing with it? You get also
No, it's on.
Patrick?
Now the sound.
Oh, super. Hey, Patrick. Mute yourself.
Unmute, we cannot hear.
I think you can hear us now, but we're getting feedback.
Okay, Patrick? Okay, we need you mute.
Wer hat noch eine Verbindung offen?
I unmuted myself. Okay. Yay. Okay, now I cannot hear you. I hear myself, but I cannot hear you. I will talk anyways. I cannot hear you, Uwe. Okay. Yeah. Yes, wonderful. No, I've been trying my best to participate all the sessions today and yesterday. I think it doesn't make much sense if I now comment on many details. I feel the discussion is going into the right direction. You can still hear me? Yes. Maybe just a short statement about my goals and my motivation. My goal would be to find ways to help support co-working Bansko. My expectation is, that my life situation during the next 1 to 3 years will somehow align with a good working co-working center. So far, without entering into all the legal details, I would be happy to chip in my part, the 1,000 or the 2,000. If there are needs for temporary financing, if I'm not the only one, and if there's some sort of temporary setup that makes it easy to get in and also clear how to get out again, I think this would also be something that I would be happy to look at and follow others. Regarding goals, now amongst the things that have been discussed, one thing that I liked is the idea of being able to build businesses or create neighboring ecosystems built on the core activities of co-working Bansko. For example, when I hear Digital Nomad Academy, that's something great. The startup that I'm trying to put together at the moment would greatly benefit from such a business approach, and I think I could contribute interesting things back. So yeah, I would love to be involved in these kinds of discussions and activities and investments. And another thing regarding goals, one thing that I feel I'm often missing when I come back to Bansko is some place to do yoga, to find others who like to do meditation, that kind of context. Now, if Go Co-working Bansko could grow in the way that those interested in promoting these activities, helping build these activities up, I would love to be part of a initiative, of a group, of a team that tries partnering with others, get yoga teach in, or also being able to add such a flavor to the co-working space. Yeah, I would love to find my role also with that kind of activity. Okay, that's it. Thank you. I can unmute this microphone too. And then you can figure it out. Okay, Patrick, we are switching to a different microphone. Perfect. So what I was saying, I think it's great that you want to do yoga and meditation. To me, this is only a function of somebody actually taking leadership in this topic and then motivating other people and just putting it on calendar and saying, okay, now every morning we do yoga in the basement. Or maybe if it's like 20 people, we rent a yoga room or we do yoga in the park or wherever. And we saw this in the summer when we had Zach here, and Zach is coming back actually soon, that all of a sudden, all of our members that never heard about acro yoga before were like flying and basing and doing stuff. So I think this was really cool.
And also, I think, like yesterday, also we talked about this. You also, Patrick also mentioned this, that the co-working space is a platform, right? And which creates the possibility for people to create something, to make something, and to bring in. And maybe we need to help them and support it even more, that more of these things can happen. But everybody can do something.
No, now we have goals. So we will turn on the big screen. I will try to avoid watching too much porn during this session. And my word with you. So basically topic of this session, and we have about 1 hour before Uwe and I have to leave, and about like 1 hour 15 before we get a lot of food, is what are actually the goals of the co-op. And I think we mentioned already a few of those goals. So I think first of all, it needs to benefit it needs to provide some kind of benefit to members, right?
Make it a bit bigger, maybe?
I can make it bigger. Yes, okay. And we haven't fully figured out what the benefits are, but I think one of the benefits for sure is that you have a policy impact to shape the future of co-working Bansko. I think another benefit is that you also have an operational impact. And this would be, like, for example, if there's conflicts with members, that the co-op in the future, the co-op would actually be the stewards of the community. Maybe there's like an online way to resolve disputes with members or something, but clearly there would be an impact on operations and community management by each of us. And I think this is great because, again, it's shaping the community more. I'm sharing my screen. Only with the people in the room. Okay. Let's give it over to the remote people. Great. And maybe we can just brainstorm a few of these things. I think it will also provide a benefit to co-working Bansko in terms of real estate. And we can discuss this. But what we have learned being here is that once people see that we're actually successful with what they do, they want to increase their rents. The current situation with the house is that we might not even be able to buy it. So even though the municipality told us initially that we can buy it, they voted on it in the council. The latest news is that now actually the municipality wants to buy the house themselves and then auction it off in spring next year, which of course is not so great because we started to invest into the house, so the value has increased. And the auction price might be higher than the price that was quoted to us in the past. And if you would own real estate, obviously these things would not happen. So I would think as pool resources to own real estate. Off loans. And also, I mean, I always advise people not to buy apartments here, but I believe that the prices are now very low, so it can only go up from here. And this is true for residential real estate, but also for commercial real estate. So long-term rents in Bansko will increase for everything. And controlling our real estate future together might make more sense than renting. What other benefits did we discuss? Why we do? Yeah, Philip.
More work power.
More work power.
Projects or mind power, you know, ideas to just also get the stuff done.
I think we also mentioned to grow to the next level. And this is not only growing co-working Bansko, but also having a bigger impact on the whole village and ecosystem here. Other goals?
For the members, maybe to have a possible platform for their own ideas, or for ideas, for their own ideas.
Yes. That go further than normal community members, right?
That's a good question.
I guess ideally, we like once we're like if we grow enough, we have free membership basically. Maybe for the co-op members.
Or
it's financially
we're funded by dividends, you mean?
Or by that.
I think it's. I mean, it would. I think it would offset, right? Because if it's profitable enough and there's not big investment projects going on, there's dividends, then you essentially pay for your membership with that anyways, right?
So I mean, I think it would be better instead of saying it's totally free membership, to say, okay, there's a discount on the membership that's on top of our normal discounts, maybe another 10% or so. Because if you make it totally free, it's like, it doesn't help us. So Svetlina will still need to be paid, rent needs to be paid. And for people that are not here all the time, the benefit is also not a big benefit, while for somebody who is here, who's using all the resources, it's a huge benefit.
Yeah, but that's good for being part of the co-op.
Yeah, but it's not enough, because if you pay €1,000 or €2,000 to offset like 1,200 euros of membership fees, it's not an advantage to the co-op. So the co-op still needs to make money.
No, I thought the discount only for people which are here.
Yeah, I mean, you would only, if you use the membership, you get the discount, right? So if you don't use, then you don't get such a big benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. But for me, it's just like, in general, it feels like a weird concept that I'm paying my own company for
using your own resources.
Basically. This is kind of just a weird concept in general.
Yeah, but like the owner of, I mean, Walmart is a public company, obviously, but like the CEO doesn't walk in and take free shit out of the store, right? Like,
Yes,
of course,
this is true.
because it's not your company, it's our company.
Yeah.
And like, I think that, especially in the early days, it wouldn't make sense to do something like that because the people who will be co-op members are largely the most active members.
Yeah.
But I think a discount of some kind makes sense, especially because if we want to grow the co-op between the people, beyond the people in this room, it has to have more tangible benefits to sell it to other people, so that we can have more co-op members. And a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about the last couple of days are pretty intangible. You know, like they're very like impact on this. You know.
Yeah.
And if I want to go to like John and say, John, join the co-op for 2,000 euros. Here's what you get. You get to have impact.
And you can join the discussion for the coffee machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think like more than 10% would make sense.
Yeah, I think more than 10% makes sense too. But
I was thinking like even 50% total would be.
I was thinking about this too, but that doesn't make sense because this would, for example, for me be of great benefit while the people, I'm sure there's some faces that I've barely seen around here, so for them this would be a whole lot beneficial.
But they can decide to come to Bansko and not come to Bansko, so.
This is true, but like as Matthias said, like I would offset my investment pretty quickly by getting 50% discount, while other people wouldn't have this.
Yeah, but we also know, I mean, like everybody's different.
Okay, I mean, let's not fix a percentage, but yes, I think there should be some advantage. I would also prefer to have some advantages for co-op members that don't impact the cash flow. I mean, maybe there's some stuff that we can provide that's pretty much free to the co-working space or the co-op, but still provides an advantage for co-op members.
Can you name some questions?
I mean, I don't know if it's a question, but for example, we have this bring a friend policy at the co-working space where you pay 15 euros per week if you bring a friend to events. Uwe and I, we decided early on that we can always bring our friends, even though we encourage friends to pay for membership, but we would not force friends to do this. But this could be something for the co-op. If you say, if you're part of the leadership committee, then you have a free allowance for friends, for example, for friend weeks. Or maybe you have a free allowance for full weeks for friends that you say, okay, I have like 3 free weeks that I can just give away to people that I like as a Christmas gift. And you get this as part of the co-op.
I think that's a great idea to have like 1 week, how do you say, a coupon for 1 week or something like this, which you could give away as a,
you can use what you'll settle for.
Maybe for some kind of, let's not say employee, but some kind of freelancer that comes to work with you on a certain project, for example, so you can not just have a quick meeting with this person here, but you can, you know, sit next to each other for a week while you're working on a website with like some kind of webmaster, like maybe somebody from Bulgaria or abroad, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I like it also because it's sort of marketing in a way too.
Yes, yeah, it attracts more people at the same time, which might then create more word of mouth. Is that the correct word?
What about the other like extra services? Like someone had mentioned this yesterday, like the mail service, for example.
Yes, where you get
really cost us anything. Obviously, there's a little bit of labor that goes into it, and it can be annoying to deal with. Fill up the area with packages, but for co-op members, maybe it's one of those things that's pretty cheap, so we would really lose money on it. But it's like it would be nice to be able to ship things here when I'm somewhere else.
Yes. Oh, and this could also offset the, like, if people that aren't often here, like, and then they see people that are often here getting big discounts or small discounts on the membership, the fact that they like don't pay for their remote membership, for example, would somehow offset this a little bit.
For
where
what?
they've so like the remote membership.
Oh, the remote.
Yes, remote. Sorry. So this would upset it a little bit, like where people that are not here would feel like they get somehow a similar benefit monetary-wise than the people that get a discount that are here.
I think membership is the social membership?
No. So the remote membership means we keep you in our group, in the private group. So this is also like a topic that we have been going back and forth because, I mean, for example, Patrick is a remote member, but now he's getting all the invites to all the events that are happening here.
Right.
So on the one hand, it's great to be a remote member to keep in touch what's happening here, but on the other hand, it's spamming you with invites to events. Yeah. And there's no easy way to prevent this because we always invite everyone in the group. It would be, I don't know how we could change this. So, so yes, I think for Co-op members, obviously it makes sense because then you also stay in touch what's happening here.
Yeah, I think it's
and there's an add-on. I think Jürgen found an add-on how we can prevent getting invites from events.
You can create custom groups in Facebook.
No, the other way around. I think you have to block some people or some event invitations. Because a custom group, we would need to track who is here, who is not here. And then if a normal member is creating an event and clicking invite all, it still goes to all.
Is this not the
Patrick's super excited, by the way.
Oh, super! Hey.
People can say, I don't want to have any notifications about this group.
It doesn't help you with the events.
No, really?
Yes, because you will get invited to the event.
Yeah, and then you will, and once you're invited, you also get a notification every time somebody posts something in the group or adds a picture or something like this.
I'm here and I find it a little bit overwhelming at times.
This is how co-working Bansko is.
It is overwhelming on Facebook and it turns out it's just Matthias posting a
Yeah, but Matthias needs to test his Wunderwaffe. That's the problem, you know.
One thing I have on the mail/storage, I don't think this should apply to storage because storage is a physical unit that has limited supply that we should rent to people. Mail is sort of, I don't have a mailbox.
I would rather give you free storage than free mail, to be honest.
I would rather have free mail than free storage.
Because the problem with mail is it's actual work. I mean, it's not when you look at, okay, I get one letter, it's not work. But if 50 people get mail, it's like a constant distraction. So, and the storage you put in your suitcase, we have enough storage. I mean, even though Jürgen is filling it up pretty quickly with products from China, he doesn't need.
but Matthias doesn't mention that he's using 3/4 of the space with
yes, I recently went in there.
Pre-loved furniture.
At least for me, though, I mean, I maybe ship like 3 packages here. So.
Yeah, but these packages mean somebody has to go to the door. We have to sign it. We have to notify you that the package is here. Then sometimes the package doesn't come. We have to call the post office. Then it goes to customs. You don't speak Bulgarian. You don't want to ask Irina. You ask Svetlina. It's like, oh.
Exactly. This would be a really great.
But is it also not a possibility to just bring it to event here?
Okay.
No. It's like it's not easy. It's not easy. It needs work and it needs somebody who does it.
Too specific.
Yeah, let's.
I mean, let's move on. But I think that we should look at things that we can provide at rather low cost to co-op members.
What's the social membership?
So the social membership, I think, is one of the things that I would like to put forward to a vote once we are co-op. Okay. If we should continue it, if we should drop it, if we should change it, because it's a.
I think yeah, okay. If we continue it, if not, let's consider it like if we continue it. I think like members of the co-op are by default social members.
No, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. So the social membership. The social membership means that you can be part of our community without using a desk. The problem is that our main product is a community, not the desks. People sometimes conceive it differently. They say, okay, I'm not using a desk, which means the social membership would be super cheap. But most of the value is in the social membership. I mean, it's, and now we have, initially we had a light membership with 5 days of usage. We did this last season for, I don't know, 50 euros a month. And this is just not enough. I mean, this is not a good reflection of the values that we provide to these members. So then we decided, okay, we only do this for long-term members. So you have to now buy 12 months of social membership to come to the events. It's still 50 euro a month, but you have to commit for the whole 12 months. So that for people, and you pay upfront. So for the people that come here for 1 month, it's not an option. And the reason why I think it shouldn't be an option is twofold. First of all, I think the value is in the community. The value is not in the desks. The second thing is that if we have people that don't work here, also they engage differently with the community. So if you work next to some,
I do see your points for members, but I don't see those points for co-op members, because we are engaged in the community by default, more or less, or we should be. So for that, basically what I would like to ask is put it on the list, and then we could just.
What exactly is the thing you want to? I think like all the co-op members needs to be in the group anyways. So because I mean this is our baby. This is then together our baby, So I think you should be part.
But then the question is, if we want the people that engage a lot. And I mean, I have a home office. So if I have a community here, I will only be a social member in the future for free. I will no longer pay membership. And this is not a good, I mean, this is the opposite of what we want to do.
This is what you're doing. You're paying for the desk. In the end, you're paying for the desk.
And then
no, you're paying for the community. So I think that if we continue the social membership, it should go up in price, and then it's too big of a value to provide it for free. But I think the same discounts that we do for normal memberships could also be applied to social memberships. But yes, Ryan?
I disagree with you on the social desk thing, but I don't think that's the important part. I think the important part is how people perceive it. So not that we're having a discussion about whether it should exist or what price it should be anymore, or yet, but when we do, I think that's something to consider. People don't can't put it, isn't it is it 75 euros a month now?
No, it's 50, but you have to take the whole 12 months.
Yeah, I think we need to get into some pricing psychology.
I know, but the problem is if we would just get rid of it, then there's no longer a choice between it. So it would just be one price. I've read an article on your blog that you believe that there should be only one price. And this would be our one price. So you become part of the community. And yes, some people use the desk more. Some people go to the hot springs more. Other people want to do yoga in the park. But this is the same price for everyone because you're part of the community that comes with different types of benefits.
Yes. I mean, I'm not saying the social membership shouldn't exist. I just don't agree that people don't see more value in the desk, even if they're wrong about it. That's what they see.
And if I don't need a desk, if my work is not dependent on the computer and I work from home, and what would be my benefits then?
Then, I mean, this is the other part of forming an intentional community. Is there are some people that are just not a good fit for a co-working space. The co-working space is about the idea of working. In the first year, we had people that were more interested in drinking and coming to social events, but these were different types of people that actually work here. And it provides less benefit to the community if then people can't do things together. So for example, now we have a few English as a second language teachers that are members. But for them, the co-working space is not the right work environment because they need like a quiet room. So they would need a private office. Plus, there's very little that they can actually do together with other members, right? Because we have one guy, Cliff, so he's building an accounting startup. He's a little bit different. He's doing ESL more as a side project. But for others, they are not looking for a developer or a graphics designer or somebody to start a business with. They just want to do ESL. And I think then we invite people in the community, that don't provide this same kind of spirit that we have with other members.
I think this is very in depth of co-working kind of thing is right. Yeah. But however, I think what we need to think about is like that. What is the membership of the co-op owners? Yeah. How does this work? And I think this is a point which we have to think about.
I think we have to get now the benefits, like the non-profit benefits that the co-op members can get. I mean, if I put my 1,000 or 2,000 euro and my time into this project, what am I gonna get back while I'm in it? Not as money, as other benefits. I don't use the co-working space because I have my business here and it's totally different.
But I think, Mirko, you are a great example for that. You offer apartments. We open probably very soon a second location close to your apartments. So I think you are a great benefiter of the space. But I also think vice versa. As a cooperative, you are a great member to have. You know, so I think, you know, like for you, you are an awesome example, and I think, you know, like this is what we talked yesterday. You know, there will be other needs. People have other needs, and some of us may start a business to offer solutions for those needs.
I think Camilo wants to say something different.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you had with this non.
Yeah, like because Matthias says about the social membership. Why would I put my time and effort in it for free when I can only pay a social membership and be part of all the events on a yearly basis, participate in whatever I choose, and stay aside from all the work done.
You could do this.
But you would still get a discount, right? The question is only if a discount should be 100% for co-op members or if it should be less. And what I'm saying, if we set it for 100% for like remote membership or social membership, this is taking revenue away from the co-working space. And especially because in the co-ops, there's the people that are most engaged. So if you take the revenue away from all the people that are most engaged, it's not great for the business.
So I think, you know, like the benefit is also to sit there amongst these amazing people, these entrepreneurs who have this spirit and these ideas, because, you know, like maybe you can streamline your business, maybe you can have benefits in other ways. And yesterday also we talked about, you know, like how much do I get out of it when in 5 years I sell my share or something like this. And I think, you know, like you can easily make more money on streamlining your business, get into new things and do other stuff. But there is much more valuable being part of it. Whether in vice versa, whether you would lose out if you're not part of it, you know.
So maybe
Negotiating with local companies for some discounts for co-op members.
Absolutely.
For example, the fitness.
But this would be the same for all community members. So if we get a discount, and we already do this with some.
With the goals over there for members.
Or maybe
it would be very confusing for them to have 2 tiers of discounts for members and co-op members. Because we already have discounts as co-working council members at a lot of places.
or maybe everybody is doing something different. Writing websites, writing blogs, doing marketing, myself renting the apartment, somebody else doing something else. Maybe each of the co-op members will be able to somehow sell his skills or business to customers with a priority.
I mean, that's clearly a benefit. Obviously, if you're part of the co-op, and we see this for me and Uwe, it provides you with more opportunities than just being a member of Co-working Bansko. And I think this will only grow, right? So if we grow, then obviously there's like a preference for co-op members, and it's also like where we can shape this, right? So like, for example, how do we recommend apartments? Which apartment partners do we want? Obviously, people that sit around the co-op table have a much bigger influence on this decision than somebody who's just like an outside supplier.
Absolutely.
There has to be these incentives to push everybody give his best within these 100 hours. Rather than only pay membership.
Can we switch the microphone then?
Yeah. No, it's still not working.
Okay, then we can't do anything about
Yeah,
it.
so just like people at the back, if you're speaking, maybe just
Speak up.
be a little bit louder.
Yes, be louder. It's not the microphone now.
I think one quick thing referring to benefits for the co-op members. We have the balance that what we will give to the community will be different if it's you, if it's me, if it's you, etc. So we thought about making it simple with the referencing hours, etc. Because and in this list of benefits, we will have the same things. Some people will get some benefits, some people will have others. So it's good that the list is quite big. And it's a good reason why we have to lower the impact of the benefits on the cash flow, because it can create also a big difference if many people use these few specific benefits that impact cash flows or not. I'm not sure if I'm clear.
Yeah.
Because actually, I see the benefits as the way that how our working time is being paid off for that organization.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we contribute, right?
Absolutely. Otherwise, you just pay a membership or a remote membership or just a social thing and stay aside.
One benefit that I think would be very good, because Co-working Bansko has pretty good SEO, or will continue to have good SEO, I hope, would be co-op member profiles on the website with links to our personal sites or projects. And this would be just like a typical profile, like this is co-op member Jürgen, he's a biohacker. But then there's a link to his Jürgen does.
I got some backlinks, huh?
So this would be very good because I think it creates more organic business for everybody.
Maybe we should also like showcase co-op members' business in the newsletter that we send out.
Yeah, this is also good. Yeah.
Also, because for some people it's important to see their face everywhere. Maybe we should on the members wall have a special section with like the elders of Co-working Bansko.
Oh yeah, or even a different
with a
wall.
different style, painted in oil.
Bigger.
Much bigger.
Arena could have some additional business, oil painting.
Yeah, co-op member of the month.
Portraits of everybody.
Patrick has an idea. Maybe offer 5 different benefits that co-op members can choose 3 of them. So like offer a selection.
Make it more complicated.
Patrick, don't be so German. How many Germans do you have around the table?
Yeah, too many.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, this is, I mean, I don't say members should choose, but in general, I think everyone in the co-working space has different needs. And sometimes if somebody has some special needs, then of course we will try to make it work somehow.
And on top of that, whatever benefits we choose to have as a co-op members, I think that it is fair enough for each and every member, if possible, to benefit from all of them.
No, I think the equality is very important.
Hold on. If he can and if he needs to be able to benefit from all of this, but if he cannot benefit from all of this, but only from 1 or 2 things, not to be moaning or complaining, oh, I'm a member, but I can only benefit from that, because nobody is stopping him from benefit from everything.
I mean,
it's just his personal choice not to use the space, for example, at half price, or it's just his personal decision not to go to every event.
Yeah, he also
eventually we'll have a voted list, right?
Absolutely.
And then we know we sign up to this list, and then either you sign up or you don't sign up. And there's no moaning and bitching about it.
You could just not be a co-op member.
But I think, the cooperative, and I think this is very important that we agree on the values, and the values are equality. So if we start to having things, which are not equal, then I think this is against the values, against the core values, and we have to make sure that the core values are, we can agree on some set of core values, but then, we need to make sure throughout the entire organization that this is happening.
And on a secondary level, I think that whatever benefits are chosen, the people that buy membership for co-working shouldn't be able to have the same benefits, or at least not at the same price.
Yeah.
Like 50% off membership, 100% membership for people that are not contributing by work and by initial payment.
Yeah, I mean, this is only for the co-ops. This is not for the friends of the co-working space. So the benefit for the friends of the co-working space would be they actually get paid an interest. And they still have a social impact, but
I mean, you can write this down, goals for friends. Then we have this also written down, interests of banking interest, 3% or whatever.
So friends of co-working are only giving their money against interest.
Yeah.
It's simple. That's their bonus.
Absolutely.
I think I missed the friends of co-working.
I think you missed it, yeah.
I've told you outside.
Yes.
It's outside of the co-op.
It's not
It's
a member.
separate.
Oh, there's a chart.
Sort of.
One thing that I think is important when we're talking about equality is that we recognize that there's a difference between equality and outcome and equality and consideration.
A bit louder, please.
This is as loud as I.
Come closer, my friend. Come closer. Don't be in such a distance.
Yeah, but the problem is Patrick, and that's equality. We all want to participate, and there's a microphone, and he's part of us.
He might be here, but that's if he's in Thailand.
Yeah, the problem is that that's not the microphone.
The microphone here is not working.
This microphone.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem. It's a mindset. If Patrick is with us, or if he is not with us, that's a mindset. Sorry.
And guys, so
and if you are lazy to sit there, it's difficult, I think. Sorry.
Sorry.
Ryan, we called you out. I mean, we're not pointing fingers, but nice. Wow.
So I could repeat in order that Patrick can also participate in this way. So what Ryan is basically saying is that there is the equality as a perception, how you perceive equality, and there is the written out form of equality. And I think, of course, this is taking place in one way or the other, but at least we should have a written statement, you know. But
yeah, I mean, I'll try to speak louder, but what I mean is that if someone opts not to take advantage of certain benefits because they can't, because they don't have digital work, that's like, this is your, like, that's equality and outcome. I can't control that. We can't control that as a group. All we can say is, if you want to take advantage of this benefit, you have the right to. And if your life doesn't match that.
This is what Mirko said before. Thank you.
And I think also this is not a final list, right? So if you discover after operating the co-op, a member says, okay, how about providing this as a member's benefit? And we can discuss, is it cash flow relevant? Is it a good idea? Should we do this? And then we vote for it. Yeah, so I think this is like a growing thing, and we will discover these things in the future. I mean, it could be, for example, Ryan is doing like consulting project, and he recently posted that he's looking for somebody who wants to consult in Moscow or something. And once you operate a co-op, maybe this is an opportunity that when consulting or paid speaking engagements come up, then people can take advantage of it if they feel they want to do this.
Absolutely.
There is one benefit that we told about before. It's just learning.
Yeah, networking and learning.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Then I think we have a very long list of personal benefits. Yeah. The goals basically fall short with one.
Yeah. So I mean now the goals, right? So I think the overall goal is this, but I would really like to put real estate as a goal in here. So the goal should be we want to own property long term.
Yeah, but then we come to the question that we discussed before, which is related to the price of the shares now and price of the shares in 5 years when we own real estate.
But
in my opinion, we cannot put this as a goal. I think this is something we can vote on, but I think we cannot put this in the statutes in the beginning of. I mean, maybe it's an aim where we can aim at too, you know, in the long run or mid or long run. But probably in the beginning we will not be able to afford it. You know, as simple as that.
But we are talking about the house like for next year, right? So the house will be the first decision.
For instance, yes, but it's something which all the cooperatives members need to vote on.
Yeah.
Because it's not something we can stake out now and say this is what we have to. This is an option which would be great for the co-op, and where we have to vote in.
I think maybe the way to look at this is that owning real estate might be an outcome of the goal to grow Bansko, co-working Bansko to the next level.
Or more of a way to do it.
And a way to do it, if we so agree on it, and it makes sense, I give you that. But it, like what we were saying, like if you basically write it down here, and then it moves into our, bylaws, basically, it might be a too specific thing.
I think, you know, if you put it as a vision, I think that's a great vision to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, then also like the real estate can be decided on a case-by-case basis.
I mean, obviously it's on a case-by-case basis, right? So it's not automatic that we buy the house. But to me, the co-op means we have more financial capacity and can do things. And
it's a logic thing, right?
No, but this is also one of the reasons why it makes sense to bring more people in.
Exactly, but then
because you have loans to the co-op.
But can we write this down? What you just said as a goal?
What is the goal?
What you just said.
To have more financial capacity.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But it's unrelated to the co-op, but it's more related to getting loans from members, right?
Yeah, and with the co-op, it's not more, it's only other. It's
just
only
like changing the
money.
ownership.
No, it's more because
It's
if Uwe and I have to buy the house, then we have to pay 25,000 each. If we have 20 people to buy the house, or the co-op is buying the house, it's different.
It's 200 each.
Which would mean that we now form the co-op with, let's say, 1,000 per person, and then 6 months later we decide to buy a house, so every person have to give another, for example, 3,000.
No.
Why?
Because we already discussed it. For loans, we would have this Friends of Co-working Bansko. So we would not increase the co-op thing. The co-op would take a loan from this other entity, the Friends of Co-working Bansko or bank or whatever.
Okay, so this goal is only related to the friends thing, not to the co-op thing necessarily.
But if we do it this way,
I think it's related to the co-op because otherwise it's the Friends of Matthias and Uwe.
no, guys, if you do it,
It's hard to do that.
I mean, you will be in both groups, Peter, so we will suck you dry, that's for sure.
guys,
We have talked about that, but you know, like this
Guys,
is the
guys,
underlying.
I'm looking for some exit clauses.
Guys, it's important thing, and it's related to the co-op in principle. It doesn't matter if it's a coffee machine or a house. When you're buying something for the co-op with a loan, okay, Uwe or the bank or Matthias is giving the loan, but the thing that you buy belongs to the co-op, and then the members of the co-op have to pay back the bank, Matthias or Uwe.
The co-op has to pay back. The co-op.
Okay, but the co-op belongs to us, so we have to pay.
No, but you don't have personal risk, it's different.
There's limited liability in the co-op?
Okay, can I put something together? Okay.
The business has to pay for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the financial power of the co-op is, I mean, you know, like the earnings which we take, like the memberships, for instance, goes into the co-op, right?
Exactly.
So over time, we increase the, I mean, of course, it's a positive
Hopefully
lookout,
increase,
you
yes.
know, but it's very likely to happen because more people are distributing the word of mouth. So the financial potential will increase. So it means maybe in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years we are able to buy a bigger house or a bigger stake or whatever, or a car or whatnot. But at the moment, in the beginning, we start with zero, right?
Exactly.
And so that's why maybe there is a legal option that Matthias and Uwe and Peter and who not, you know, like buy a house, you know, and like make a long-term rental contract with the option of buyout or something like this.
But he doesn't say so. He says that the co-op has to buy the house, and the co-op has to pay mortgage.
But this is not the possibility in the beginning, because in the beginning we start with zero.
It is a possibility because of the friends of the co-op.
Yes, if friends are willing to pay for that, then it's a possibility.
That's your point of view,
Yes,
right?
I
This
mean,
is
my
your
point
idea.
is actually we want exactly the opposite, because if Uwe and Matthias buy a house, then basically we take all the profits that the co-working is
So you don't
generating
want
on
to buy
real
the
estate.
house. You want to give loan to the co-op for the co-op. to buy
So
the
I'm
house.
saying if Uwe and I would buy the house, then
Yes.
we would do a long-term agreement with the co-op to rent it from us. Then we would get all the benefits of the real estate. I don't think this is the right
Because
model.
in 10 years it will be still
Yes.
your house, not
Yes.
the co-op house.
Yes, I think the co-op
But there's
should
a
have a
legal,
long-term
but there's a legal
vision.
possibility to go buy this, you know. So there is like a long-term rental contract
it's
with
still
a
private ownership.
buyout, with a
Yeah.
buyout option, with a buyout option, and the co-op is to decide whether this is happening or not, right? So it's still the co-op people who need to vote for actively, yes, we do this or not, right? So and I think in the beginning we have limited options, and in the future we have probably more.
Let's also make it so that this again a detail maybe, but the people who are involved as a friend in a deal shouldn't be voting on that deal. Just.
Yeah, it's only the co-op members voting.
No,
Friends of co-op
I don't want that, because this creates this inequality, right? This means that the richer people in the co-op will buy the real estate, will get the benefits of receiving the rent for the real estate.
I'm not saying what?
Yes, so if individual co-op members buy real estate instead of the co-op buying real
I'm not
estate.
saying anything about that, right? Why are you saying this again?
No, but it's right.
It's a different point.
Because if I'm not allowed, no, it's exactly the same thing. If I buy the house, and if I make a contract with the co-op, am I allowed to vote for it? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Because you're not a co-op member.
No. And if I'm a co-op member, as a co-op member.
Of course you're allowed to vote.
But then,
No, okay, so.
And this is the discussion which we have right now. But as a co-op member, I'm allowed to vote.
No, but you should
Because otherwise it creates inequality.
No, because I mean, otherwise you can have like 51% of the co-op members like doing a deal that they
No, one human, one vote. This is the co-op principle.
But not that there's a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I think if there's a conflict of interest, a co-op member should not vote.
I would agree. So.
It's like the Brexit, right? So the UK is not negotiating the contract for Brexit inside the EU bloc, but the other party, there's a counterpart for this.
And
I
then,
think this creates an inequality.
I think that everybody should.
No, you can see the like if you only have 7 members to start it, for example, right? You can see like 4 colluding to do
Yeah, but
something.
it's going to be more than that. There's not going to be 10.
Yeah, I mean the risk is small, but there's a risk.
Okay, but clearly in a conflict of interest, the co-op has a discussion without as a co-op and not for the counterpart. So the counterpart is then negotiating as a counterpart with the co-op.
So but I just imagine this scenario. So say there's like 20 people in the co-op. You are, you have a friend that you're getting a loan from or something like this, or something that benefits you. Somehow you convince 10 people that this is a good idea in the co-op, and you're the deciding vote. You should be able to do this. Of course you should be able to do this. It's not like it's 0 and then you're the only one and you're a dictator and you get to decide it's happening.
No, but even the discussion. So if for example, I have a house and I want to enter a long-term, or let's say I have some bicycles, I want to enter a long-term contract with a co-op to be the long-term supplier of bicycles to the co-working space members.
Awesome.
Then clearly this discussion, I can approach the co-op and say, okay, I have this business model, I will rent the bicycles, you get 10%. But then the other co-op members can discuss this without me, if this makes sense, and they will vote without me if they want to accept this proposal or not.
Why without you?
Because I obviously want to rent my fucking bicycle.
Yeah, but you are part of the co-op.
No, but it's no.
You have one vote, one person, one vote.
Yeah, but if there's a conflict of interest, then the rest of the co-op should be able to decide this without the person that has this conflict of interest.
I disagree.
But this is normal procedure in like basically everywhere.
Yeah,
but the question
of course your vote's always going to be yes.
Can we in this case just vote who is actually for everyone has a vote and just to see?
Yeah, but then if multiple people team
Maybe
together,
there's an
they always
official
win.
rule. Maybe there is a law for that, for co-ops.
But what if it's a collaboration between several members of the
It's
co-op?
even
or even
legal
half the
liability
co-op?
probably.
Yes, and then
It's
they
like
automatically
if they're
vote
out
yes.
of voting, this makes 0 sense.
No, but then they can
Just
take
only
over
the
and
one time,
always
right?
work together.
Only the one vote. Yeah.
But my question is more like, who decides that this is a conflict of interest?
If
Like,
there is any financial benefit towards some members by voting yes on this proposal.
Yeah,
but
but I
you
think
still
it-
hide,
there
you
can
can
be
still
difficulties.
hide the financial benefit. Like you
No,
can
because
someone
if you-
else presented stuff like
But the
this.
simple stuff like there is a rental agreement or some loan that
Yeah, I
somebody
mean if
has
it's
like-
obvious, but then
we can speak on conflict of interest only if it is a municipal or a government company. If it is a
No, it's
private
not true.
company, we can have our internal rules and
Yeah.
say what can be done and what cannot be done. We can have our rules.
But there can still be a conflict of interest.
Yes, it can, but
So
it's
can
our
we-
decision to decide whether
can we-
that person
can we
can
put
vote
this-
or
can
cannot.
we-
Yeah, I
Can we
put it
put
into the operations at the
Okay,
question.
super.
like,
So
what
we
do
can
do?
maybe talk to.
Let's come back.
Eftin.
Let's come back to the goals again.
I was thinking that it makes sense to, like, one of the things is to have not just financial capacity, but to have the capacity for more people, right? Like, we have a goal for having X number of members, or to
I think this is like the grow co-working Bansko and Bansko to the next level.
And I'm coming
Whatever
back to
that
your
is.
chart here, Uwe, saying that currently we start with 0, but let's say in 1 year we are around the table and have, let's say, 10,000 leva net profit from that co-op, which we have to distribute. And by distribute, I don't mean that everybody has to get paid 500 less. I mean that we have to decide, let's say, 8,000 out of this 10,000 we put back into the co-op for its development and growing further to the next level. And the other 2,000, we do a nice spa weekend for all the co-op members, for example. This year we are 0. Next year our co-op is worth 10,000.
No, it's
After
very likely that
worth-
within 3 to 4 months we will create 25,000 levels.
All right. So then, when our
If the numbers goes like
when
this.
our co-op is worth more, we have to find a way how to make it fair for all the co-op members to feel more secure and to have the benefit from getting into it today, not 1 year later. Because it's great to have now to start now with 15 people and have 25 next year. So another 10 joining next year. But this year we are here. Next year we'll be here. It's not going to be fair that.
That's why
We already discussed this with the signing bonus. Can we come back to the goals? Like, what other high-level goals do we have as a co-op?
Support the. I mean, yeah. Anyway.
Honestly, for me, and it's a bit like also text-wise, but it's also maybe just from a normal human point of view, becoming a local. Becoming a local.
What is that?
Like more interaction with the
Residency.
local community. Or, I mean, yeah, also for my text, but also just in general, as you're just involved in the local area where you live.
It means support
That would be a
people who
benefit
want-
or a goal or whatever.
But what does it mean? To support local people, does this mean we have,
No, support become a local. That's what you're saying.
but become a local is a personal level, like as a co-op, how do we become a local? Like what specifically would this mean?
I mean, if we say that we want to grow Bansko, we mean just on our own as an island, or
No,
as part of everything?
I'm saying grow Bansko and grow the co-working the Bansko ecosystem. Okay, which could mean different things. I don't know what becoming a local means.
But it helps the Bansko ecosystem if you consider yourself as a local. If you spend your money here, if you use all the stuff which is there, maybe I don't know if you
I mean, I lived in Saigon for 5 years, and I know nothing from the locals. I just go to some restaurants. I work with all English-speaking Vietnamese. I know zero local culture there, and so this would be one way.
Yeah, but one of the things I think is also benefiting the co-op members. And I think, one of the things we could do is, for instance, we could decide whether we go and visit local sites and have our meetings maybe in a winery or somewhere to get more familiar with the distillery, yeah.
I think
more in the hard stuff.
It's easy to find examples for how we could grow Bansko and contribute to the Bansko ecosystem, but which is not what we want right now. So the only additional thing to like this very roof-like sentence would be like some sort of sustainability. So sustainability, like business-wise, a sustainable business model, not just go on growth, for example. Which I don't think like this feels like we're on growth, but it's something that could go in there.
What do you mean with this specifically?
I think like a classic startup thing, for example, when you're like VC funded and you're all in growth, this is not sustainable in many cases.
Okay, I mean it's so specific. What do you mean with it?
So
like,
I
how would
guess
this
it would,
impact
for
the co-op?
example, mean that if we are relying on new members to get more entrance fees coming into finance operations, that would be a bad thing.
Or to like my probably my biggest personal interest in this is to keep co-working Bansko alive for at least as long as I am here in Bansko. And this could, to some extent, be different to what comes out of like grow co-working Bansko to the next level, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the balance between growth and sustainability.
Yeah, because if you take on too much risk.
Okay.
Is it the vision for co-working Bansko to be the hotspot in Europe for digital nomads?
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, what we said so far, we want to be a base for digital nomads, location-independent people,
All
and
of them,
freelancers.
or only the more established ones?
Want to be too specific.
I mean, if this becomes like 40 ebook sellers making $400 a month, maybe.
And the travel bloggers.
Yeah.
But they're all in Chiang Mai.
Exactly, but I want to keep them there. That's my point.
Yeah, but then we can raise the membership prices, for instance. This could be a decision the board makes.
But even if we make sure that they come, but they go to some other co-work, some cheaper ass co-work in Bansko, it still would be a bad thing for Bansko.
Someone actually make a discounter.
Exclude them. We could
Oh,
make
there's
them
lots of
grow.
Okay, I mean, we talked about self-selection before. I think this is still the case. So also when you join the co-working space, there's some value system that you subscribe to. There's a code of conduct. There's people here, there's a pricing, it looks a certain way. So I think people will decide for themselves if this is the right thing for
I
them.
also think people won't end up in Bansko or Chiang Mai because it is more expensive here than Chiang Mai. Like
It's not true.
It's definitely true.
It's not true.
Maybe for food, but
And
I don't know
there's
for
people
rent.
there's a lot of people here that were in Chiang Mai and they talk about, okay, we bring all our Chiang Mai friends.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the one that say, if you have been in Chiang Mai, you can't come to Bansko. I mean, doesn't make sense.
No, but someone was commenting on Facebook on one of the groups that was like, "Oh, this could be like the next Chiang Mai," and I was like, "No."
Okay, but I mean, clearly, so we want to be a base for digital nomads, and I think we want to grow. We want to grow responsibly. So I fully agree with Sebastian. It needs to be sustainable, and this is also why I think the real estate question is one of the sustainability questions, because once we own it, we are a lot more independent from other things that happen. And the question is, how far will it grow? There are some things we can maybe accelerate growth or kind of slow down growth, but things will happen. And I think it will be way bigger than it's now.
This might be a topic worth discussing, but we had this in a short Facebook thread, I think 2 months ago or something, or 1 month ago. Is there a cap? Do we want to cap the number of members? Because we think the community especially will suffer from a certain size.
Members for Coop or members
for the Coop?
Yes, I think there should be
the amount of people we cater for.
Yes, I think there should be a cap on how many people we have in the co-op. There should be a number on how many people use this specific building as a co-working space. There should not be a number on how many digital nomads can move to Bansko. I think
we can control it.
Yeah, we can control it.
I mean, we can control it a little bit. So we could say now we closed down the Facebook group, but we stopped talking about Bansko, and it's like, or we kind of promote it more and now have more people becoming ambassadors. But I think once we grow, we need to figure out how can we deal with this growth, right? Is it growing in one location? Is it growing in multiple locations? Is it splitting into multiple communities under the co-op and co-working umbrella? I think there's different ways of dealing with this, but clearly, I think we want to grow to the next level. So now we are 50 people. Next level is maybe 150 people, but it could also be like 2,500 people in a few years.
For the co-op or for the...
For digital nomads in Bansko.
I think for the co-op, it will have a natural cap. Somewhere we will find out, oh, this is not sustainable anymore. We need to reduce, or we need to, and then we need to find a way how to deal with it. I think in the beginning we should not start with limiting ourselves.
Yeah, definitely don't limit yourself.
Is there a calculation how many hours we need for the co-op members? But if you use that 50, max 50, that means 5,000 hours per year by 100.
No, I mean, I also think this is like related. First of all, it's related like what do we need to keep it on this level? If we become 20 members that put in about 100 hours, it means that we probably triple or quadruple the capacity that Uwe and I currently put in, which means we grow. Once we are 2,500 nomads in Bansko, clearly 2,000 hours will not be enough, but then maybe also the size of the co-op is much bigger and also organization is bigger or whatever. So I think if we grow to the co-op, this will enable us to grow to the next level. And then there's a level after this, and we will see how we grow further. But increasing the amount of people that have a vested interest in Bansko and in the co-working space and the co-op will clearly help to grow.
In terms of goals, we told also yesterday, I think, in addition to grow the volume, to add the value for that is available for each member. So to add new services, so yeah, I don't know, it doesn't appear now in the goals, but
we could put it in. If you tell me what it is, we could put it in.
More capacity of work, of skills into the
Wow,
members.
that's very interesting.
We have more ideas and more new stuff to be created.
Is this a mission statement?
Inside or in partnership
I
with?
think this is a benefit to co-working Bansko. More ideas and entrepreneurial spirit.
Broad the knowledge space.
And it also work out well for the
But I would
co-op.
put it also in the board add value.
Okay, so Uwe and I, we have to leave now. Everyone else has to slowly move towards the lunch place. It's the lunch place today.
Kamenec.
Lunch place today is
Damianica.
Damianica.
Where is that?
It's follow the people. It's off the pedestrian aspect. Should be nice.
Seriously, I don't know.
It's you're in the pedestrian area on the right, but people will just go with them. It's like you go towards the post office, and then it's to the right in the pedestrian zone. It's after the bookshop to the right.
There's a tobacco store, a small and there it's like it's
Yeah. Because I know Kamenec.
No, it's not a beer. We're not going to have food in the beer.
Why not? Jürgen, don't exclude.
Where's the lunch again? Okay, that's not
Okay, I mean, thanks for the remote people.
On the other side of the river.
Yeah.
Across the river here.
We have
just across the
more
Yeah. Can I keep it?
Awesome.
Do you still have mine?
No, I did not do this.
Okay, cool. It's just that I keep track of my things and I'm
Very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Thank you. Very nice. When did you learn that? No, I got